Hey everyone, we've updated our channel name from Chinese Novel Audio Wave to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Nothing else will be changing. We're still uploading a new video every day, bringing you the best Chinese novel audiobooks. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1151 Lu Yanghua. What the hell happened on the front line? After the Emperor Ziji verified it, he found that the title, Emperor of Heaven, was indeed something that could not be used casually. He clearly felt just now that if he said the last word, his soul would definitely be destroyed. When he thought of the fear of death, the Ziji Emperor's body couldn't help but tremble. How terrible! Thinking about it this way, it is true that the Emperor of Heaven cannot call himself casually, so isn't Lu Chen's name of Emperor of Heaven already recognized by heaven? Even if Lu Chen is not the Emperor of Heaven now, he is very likely to become the Emperor of Heaven in the future, and it should be very soon. No wonder the Thunder Emperor wanted to join Lu Chen. Thinking of this, Emperor Ziji did not hesitate any longer. He saluted directly to Lu Chen and said, "I pay my respects to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen said, "Bring your army here, the army of Xia Dynasty is coming soon." After Lu Chen finished speaking, his body disappeared, leaving only the Thunder Emperor and the Ziji Emperor in the void. Emperor Thunder said with a smile, "I thought you wouldn't choose the Great Xia Dynasty." Emperor Ziji ignored these words and said, "Thing Lei, you are a bit unkind. You found a future Emperor of Heaven, but you didn't tell me and quietly defected to the Great Xia Dynasty." The Thunder Emperor laughed and said, "The future Emperor of Heaven? Who told you that your Majesty is the future Emperor of Heaven?" Emperor Ziji said in confusion, "He is only at the first level of the Great Emperor now, what is he if he is not the future Emperor of Heaven?" Emperor Thunder immediately guessed what Emperor Ziji was thinking, and then said with a smile, "What if I tell you that it is just a clone of His Majesty?" Emperor Ziji was stunned. Doppelganger, not the main body. He clearly felt Lu Chen's complete soul, which was actually just a clone. Emperor Ziji looked at Emperor Thunder, as if he wanted to see from the expression on his face that Emperor Thunder was joking with him. The Thunder Emperor continued, "Even I have not seen His Majesty's main body so far, but I have seen his other clones, a second-level Emperor and a fourth-level Emperor." The Thunder Emperor thought that all he saw were Lu Chen's clones. After all, there was almost no difference between Lu Chen's main body and his clones except for their realm. Even their souls were intact. What he didn't expect was that Lu Chen could control countless bodies with one soul. The Thunder Emperor continued, "Think about it, you can create so many clones of the Emperor. And it can also ensure the integrity of the soul, so that no one can tell. What realm do you think he should be?" Emperor Ziji took a breath, and then said, "So, he is really..." Emperor Ziji did not continue speaking, he no longer dared to continue thinking. The Thunder Emperor nodded, and then said, "When you join the Great Xia Dynasty with your legion, you will be able to feel the benefits brought by the Emperor of Heaven. After my legion joined the Great Xia Dynasty, 20 quasi-emperors instantly became the Great Emperor. Many of them were injured by the Tao, and some even succeeded in attaining Tao even after their Tao hearts collapsed." Hearing these things told by Emperor Thunder, Emperor Ziji's breathing became more and more rapid. If this was really the case, wouldn't his legion have to give birth to a dozen or even 20 emperors? The Emperor of mass manufacturing, right? Then hasn't the current strength of the Great Xia Dynasty already caught up with the Xia Dynasty? Oh no, it has probably surpassed the Xia Dynasty. Emperor Ziji quickly turned around, leaving only one sentence, "No more words, I will lead the legion here." At the same time, the ferry boat that Lu Yanghua was riding on was quickly traveling through the universe. Not long after, they arrived at a branch of the Tianji Tower. Just when Lu Yanghua was about to use the Tianji teleportation array in the Tianji Tower branch to teleport directly to the front line, a soldier came to Lu Yanghua in a panic. "Your Majesty, urgent report from the front." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua frowned. He didn't even ask the soldier to read it. He raised his hand directly, and the battle report in the soldier's hand flew into the air. Then it emitted a golden light and lines of words appeared in the air. After reading all the contents in the battle report, Lu Yanghua fell into silence, and the emperors of the Tianji Tower next to him also fell silent. This battle report is full of weirdness. Although the Thunder Emperor was indeed from Lu Chen's faction at the beginning, now that the Shenyu dynasty has changed to a new emperor, the power struggle is over, and the Shenyu dynasty has sent troops to attack Lu Chen, and Lu Chen will be dealt with soon. Lose. In this context, the Thunder Emperor actually chose to join the Great Xia Dynasty. Did the Thunder Emperor run to join the Great Xia Dynasty because his brain was broken? Is it possible that there is internal fighting on the front lines and someone is framing the Thunder Emperor? After Liu Yanghua came to his senses, he was about to speed up to the White Rock Star Region Regiment. However, at this moment, another soldier suddenly knelt down in front of him in a hurry. The soldier's face was pale, and beads of sweat as big as beans were falling from his forehead. Your Majesty, the front line, urgent report. When the soldier spoke, not only did his voice tremble, but his body also continued to tremble. Liu Yanghua's face became even more gloomy. From the soldier's reaction, it could be seen that something bad had happened on the front line. Liu Yanghua raised his hand again, and a ball of spiritual power wrapped the battle report in the second soldier's hand into the air and opened it. The next moment, the content of the second battle report was displayed in the air. After seeing the text of the second battle report, the people present were completely confused. After Emperor Lei Ting defected to the Great Xia Dynasty, Emperor Ziji said that he would go to fight against the traitors. As a result, Emperor Ziji led the army to the Great Xia Dynasty and joined the Great Xia Dynasty. What is going on? Liu Yanghua was immediately furious. What on earth happened on the front line? Why did these emperors defect to the Great Xia Dynasty one by one like they had no brains? What future can there be for defecting to that waste Lu Chen? In the end, there is only one way to die. Moreover, Emperor Lei Ting's defection to Lu Chen can barely be justified. After all, Emperor Lei Ting supported Lu Chen before. Now that he is not liked by the new emperor, he has a little resentment in his heart. It is reasonable for him to defect to Lu Chen. But Emperor Ziji had no intersection with him in the past, and he was not an emperor of Lu Chen's faction. Why did he defect to the Great Xia Dynasty? Could it be that he was also mentally damaged? Liu Yanghua shouted, "Go to the Bayan Star region immediately. I want to see what they are doing on the front line." At this moment, in the Bayan Star region, in the Ning'an Dynasty Star region. It's really a breakthrough. Oh my god, what the general said is actually true. Why is the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty so strong? ... The soldiers of the Purple Extreme Corps danced with excitement. As soon as they entered the barrier of the fairy umbrella, they lost the blessing of the luck of the Shenyu Dynasty. However, before their realm dropped, their cultivation began to rise. At this time, Emperor Lei Ting came to Emperor Ziji and said with a smile, "How about it, I didn't lie to you." Chapter 1152 The Great Xia Dynasty and AMP, #039, S luck increases. Emperor Ziji felt the state after his breakthrough, and suddenly felt that he was dreaming. The luck of the Great Xia Dynasty has blessed him far more than that of the Shenyu Dynasty. You must know that the Shenyu Dynasty's luck has increased a lot after receiving the support of Tianji Tower, but it still cannot compare with the Great Xia Dynasty. From this point of view, there may really be an Emperor of Heaven behind the Great Xia Dynasty, but is that Emperor of Heaven really Lu Chen? Isn't Lu Chen the 9th prince of the Shenyu Dynasty? No matter how talented he is, he should not be able to break through to the realm of the Emperor of Heaven so quickly after reincarnation. Emperor Ziji still couldn't figure out what was going on. Forget it, don't think about it anymore. Anyway, the strong dynasty luck of the Great Xia Dynasty cannot be faked. Not only his strength has improved, but also the strength of all the soldiers in his legion. The Ziji Emperor then looked at his legion lieutenants and found that most of the quasi-emperors had already broken through to the realm of the Great Emperor, just as the Thunder Emperor said at the beginning. Emperor Ziji dare not imagine what kind of power Great Xia Dynasty is now. Just the 2 legions brought by him and Emperor Thunder already have more than 40 emperors. Not to mention the strength of the Great Xia Dynasty itself, these more than 40 emperors alone are already considered a superpower in the universe. Of course, the strength of the superpower in the universe is not just about the number of emperors, but also depends on the realm of the emperors. For now, the number of great emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty is indeed second to none, but most of them are great emperors who have made breakthroughs with the blessing of the dynasty's luck. The strength of these great emperors is weaker than those of those who have broken through naturally. Moreover, the Great Xia Dynasty may lack some high-level emperors, such as those at the 9th level. Emperor Ziji said, "It seems that His Majesty's goal is really the entire universe." Under normal circumstances, the number of emperors cannot measure the strength of super forces, but that is only a normal situation. Once the number of emperors of a certain super force exceeds a certain scale, the number of emperors is likely to determine the victory of the war. Conditions. The Great Xia Dynasty is now able to produce great emperors in batches. If one day the number of Great Xia Dynasty exceeds 100, or exceeds 1,000, or even exceeds 10,000. Even when facing the emperors of the 9th level, the weakest emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty could take turns to explode his soul and kill those emperors of the 9th level. Emperor Ziji shuddered when he thought of that scene. How terrible, how cruel. Emperor Ziji didn't think anymore. At this moment, they suddenly felt a strong killing power sweeping through their bodies. For a moment, both Thunder Emperor and Ziji Emperor were stunned. The power of killing. Could it be that Emperor Shenyu has arrived? The two quickly came to the place where the killing power came from, only to find that the killing power did not come from outside the barrier, but from the Feihong immortal boat. Seeing the killing power emanating from this immortal boat, Emperor Ziji curiously asked, "Who is in this immortal boat?" Emperor Ziji had just joined the Great Xia Dynasty. He did not know the situation of the Great Xia Dynasty, nor did he know that there were two people in the Great Xia Dynasty who had the power to kill. However, this immortal boat has always been parked here. It was already here when he came. The killing power emanates from this immortal boat, which proves that the person inside this immortal boat should also be the emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty. Thunder Emperor said, "I heard from the soldiers of the Dragon War Army that this is the ferry boat of an empress. This empress is also your Majesty's woman." The Thunder Emperor also didn't understand Empress Tianong, and he didn't come here much earlier than Emperor Ziji. At this time, the Thunder Emperor looked at the raging killing power near the Feihong immortal boat and said to himself, "I didn't expect that there would be another great emperor who proved his way through killing." Emperor Ziji keenly captured the key words. He opened his eyes wide and stared at Emperor Thunder in stunned silence, again. "What do you mean? There are other great emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty who use killing to prove their ways." The Thunder Emperor replied, "Our Majesty is the one." This. Emperor Ziji was startled. There were many things about the Great Xia Dynasty that he didn't know. The Thunder Emperor turned to look at the Ziji Emperor, and then said with a smile, "I'm afraid our Majesty is not just the 9th prince of the Shenyu Dynasty. In order to rebuild the road, there are many reincarnated emperors, and it is not impossible for the Emperor of Heaven to be reincarnated." Hearing what Emperor Thunder said, Emperor Ziji felt relieved. Indeed, maybe Lu Chen was the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, but he just happened to be reincarnated as the 9th prince of the Shenyu Dynasty. Now that his memory has been restored and his realm has gradually recovered, he will naturally show his ambition. The Thunder Emperor continued, "It looks like this is a breakthrough. We'd better stay away." Although the killing force raging in the void did not specifically target them, they would still feel uncomfortable if it encountered the killing force. Then Emperor Thunder and Emperor Ziji immediately moved away from Feihong immortal boat. At the same time, Lu Chen stood beside Empress Tianong in Feihong immortal arc, feeling the fluctuations of Empress Tianong's aura. At this time, Empress Tianong opened her ruby-like eyes. The moment she opened her eyes were locked on Lu Chen. Seeing that Lu Chen was not the main body, she felt a little disappointed. She now wanted to know how big the gap between her and Lu Chen's realm was. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Congratulations, you have achieved another breakthrough." Hearing this, Empress Tianong felt no joy in her heart. What if she broke through? She was still suppressed by Lu Chen, unless she could cancel the contract with Lu Chen. And her breakthrough this time had nothing to do with her. She was suddenly washed by the luck of the dynasty, and her soul was washed, and then her realm broke through. Obviously, the reason why she was able to break through was because the luck of the dynasty of the Great Xia Dynasty became stronger, and as the woman of Lu Chen, the lord of the dynasty, she was blessed by the luck of the dynasty, and her realm naturally rose with the tide. Empress Tianong suddenly thought that since her realm had increased because of the increase of the luck of the dynasty, it proved that Lu Chen's body was likely to break through. Thinking of this, Empress Tianong's face became even colder. It seems that her dignity as an empress is going to be trampled on again. The Rainbow Empress asked coldly, "What did you do to make the dynasty's luck so strong?" Lu Chen said, "It may be that the Great Xia Dynasty has added dozens of emperors, so the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty has also increased. The dynasty's luck and the number of emperors complement each other. If the dynasty's luck is strong, the number of emperors may be more, and once the number of emperors increases, the dynasty's luck will become even stronger." The Purple Emperor brought a legion to join the Great Xia Dynasty. After the quasi-emperors of the Purple Legion broke through, the Great Xia Dynasty had more than 20 emperors. It was hard not to increase the dynasty's luck. After hearing Lu Chen's answer, the Rainbow Empress fell silent. She thought to herself, could it be that Lu Chen didn't kill those emperors just to increase the dynasty's luck? Chapter 1153 Lu Yanghua kills the king and seizes the throne. Thinking of the realm improvement brought by the dynasty's luck, the Tianong Empress's original resentment towards Lu Chen was reduced to little. Her red eyes stared at Lu Chen, and she said in a cold voice, "What realm is your main body now?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Why are you asking this? Do you want to compete with me again?" Tianong Empress didn't say anything, just stared at Lu Chen. Tianong Empress's ruby-like crystal-clear eyes, coupled with her charming face, made Lu Chen a little restless at this time. No matter how many times he confronted Tianong Empress, his inner desire would always be mobilized by Tianong Empress. Lu Chen then said, "It's still the 4th level of the Great Emperor, I haven't broken through." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Tianong Empress's heart showed a touch of joy. Although she still couldn't get rid of Lu Chen's control, as long as her strength increased faster than Lu Chen, it was not completely hopeless. Maybe one day she would be stronger than Lu Chen, so strong that she could take the initiative to cancel the contract between them. When that time comes, she will return all the humiliation that Lu Chen brought to her. As for how to return it, she doesn't need to think so much now. At this time, Lu Chen came to sit next to Tianong Empress, and Lu Chen's body was close to Tianong Empress's hips. Seeing Lu Chen approaching, Tianong Empress frowned and subconsciously moved to the side. Lu Chen said, "You have just broken through, why are you so unfamiliar with your husband? You cultivate the way of killing, not the way of ruthlessness." Tianong Empress ignored Lu Chen's words, and she continued to calm the restless killing power in her body. Lu Chen was about to make a move on Tianong Empress, but suddenly his hands stopped in midair, and the whole person was obviously stunned for a moment. Tianong Empress thought Lu Chen was going to force it, and she was ready to fight with Lu Chen and squeeze Lu Chen's clone to death, but she found that Lu Chen suddenly stopped moving. Although she was surprised why Lu Chen suddenly stopped moving, she did not take the initiative to ask. After a while, Lu Chen came back to his senses. He smiled and said to Empress Tianong, "Another stronger enemy is coming. Do you think I will let you out this time?" Empress Tianong was startled. "An enemy is coming." Empress Tianong quickly calmed her inner restlessness and said coldly, "You won't let me go out. She still has Lu Chen's child in her belly. As long as the child is not born, Lu Chen will never let her go out to kill the enemy." Of course, this is Empress Tianong's idea. Lu Chen fooled her several times before, causing him to no longer believe in Lu Chen. Men's mouths are deceitful ghosts. Every time they say to let her go out, they end up arguing with people in the ferry boat. Empress Tianong no longer has any hope for this. She just wants the child in her belly to be born quickly. As long as the child is born, Lu Chen will no longer restrict her like this. Hearing what Empress Tianong said, Lu Chen grabbed her hand, placed it on her thigh, looked into her eyes and said, "As long as you can guarantee your own safety, I will definitely let you out." For me, your life's safety is the first priority. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Empress Tianong sneered, "You are afraid that something will happen to the baby in my belly." She didn't believe that Lu Chen had any deep feelings for her. Lu Chen had only desires for her. If he really had feelings for her, he wouldn't have fooled her every time. Lu Chen did not deny it. "I am indeed worried about the child, but I am also worried about you, there is no contradiction." After Lu Chen finished speaking, he hugged the Tianong Empress into his arms, and then whispered in her ear, "You and the child are my treasures, neither of you can be hurt." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Tianong Empress quickly raised her hand and pushed Lu Chen. "I am different from those women, your words are useless to me." After all, she is also an empress who proves her way by killing. How could she be moved by a man's sweet words? She only cares about interests, and feelings are dispensable to her. Lu Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything else. At this time, one of his clones had arrived at the edge of Haifeng Star region. When his clone arrived at Haifeng Star region, Emperor Lei Ting and Emperor Ziji were already waiting in the void. Not only Lu Chen, but the two of them also felt another strong killing force coming from outside the Bayan Star region. This killing force did not come from the Feihong immortal boat. Since the other killing force did not come from the Bayan Star region, it means that Emperor Shenyu has arrived. Emperor Ziji and Emperor Lei Ting went to Haifeng Star region first, and as soon as they arrived, they found that it was Lu Yanghua who arrived. Lu Yanghua stood on the land of a flying palace, staring at the blue barrier in front of him. Before Emperor Lei Ting and Emperor Ziji arrived, he had tried to destroy the barrier, but his attack had no effect on the barrier, and even when he used the killing force, he did not cause any damage to the barrier. Lu Yanghua said coldly, "What the hell is this thing, why can it resist my killing force?" In the correct version, ever since Lu Yanghua killed the Emperor Shenwu, he became arrogant and thought that since he had the power to kill, he was invincible. Now he couldn't even break a barrier, which was a shame for Lu Yanghua. He thought that the Emperor of Killing was like the Emperor of Divine Martial Arts, who could go wherever he wanted and kill whomever he wanted, and no one could stop him. As a result, he couldn't even break a barrier. At this moment, Lu Yanghua noticed the presence of the Emperor of Thunder and the Emperor of Purple Extreme. Seeing that both of them were in the barrier, Lu Yanghua became even more annoyed. He was about to say something when he saw a figure appear again in the distance. Seeing that the person coming was Lu Chen, Lu Yanghua said without hesitation, "Ninth brother, you are really unexpected." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Unexpected? I don't know what surprised you." Lu Yanghua said, "I am very curious, how did you convince those two people to betray the Shenyu dynasty?" Lu Chen said, "Betrayal? No, they did not betray the Shenyu dynasty. The one who really betrayed the Shenyu dynasty was you, the one who killed the king and seized the throne. They just saw through your disguise, so they chose to join me, the orthodox heir of the Shenyu dynasty." Hearing this, the emperors around Lu Yanghua were stunned for a while. Kill the king and seize the throne. What did they hear? Lu Yanghua killed the king and seized the throne. For a while, the seeds of doubt appeared in the hearts of the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty. When the Shenwu emperor died, they felt a little strange. Although Emperor Shenwu was injured in the early years, he did not die so soon. Moreover, he had rested for so many years, and his body had recovered a little. How could he die? After hearing Lu Chen's words, some emperors of the Shenyu dynasty immediately reacted. They were afraid that Lu Yanghua colluded with Tianji Tower and killed Emperor Shenwu. Chapter 1154 How could this happen? Seeing that Lu Chen actually directly told him that he had killed the king to seize the throne, Lu Yanghua's face became even more gloomy. He clearly felt the fluctuations in the fortune of the dynasty, which meant that some emperors in the Shenyu dynasty were moved by Lu Chen's words. Although some people initially suspected that he had killed the king to seize the throne, they had no evidence after all, and Tianji Tower was behind him to support him. In addition, like Emperor Shenwu, he also proved his way by killing. The most important thing is that after practicing the heaven-seizing technique, his throne was stabilized. Now that Emperor Thunder and Emperor Ziji regard Lu Chen as the orthodox heir to the Shenyu dynasty, other emperors will naturally have their own thoughts. Just when Lu Yanghua was about to say something, suddenly a dull voice came from behind Lu Yanghua, "It's just nonsense." The next moment, a pressure from the 9th level of the Great Emperor instantly suppressed the entire audience. Immediately afterwards, 2 gray-haired old men walked out of the space vortex. Lu Yanghua was relieved when he saw the people coming. With these 2 people here, the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty did not dare to mess around. One of the old men glanced at Lu Chen and said coldly, "When the late emperor died, I was there. How come I didn't know that your majesty committed regicide to seize the throne? Does the 9th prince think that I am also involved in this matter?" After hearing the words of Emperor Yehun, the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty calmed down. With the existence of 2 9th-level emperors, Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin, even if Lu Yanghua really killed the king and seized the throne, then he also succeeded to the throne legitimately. Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin are the ballast stones of the Shenyu dynasty. They have both determined that Lu Yanghua is the head of the Shenyu dynasty, so there will no longer be any dispute about this position. Now Lu Chen, Thunder Emperor and Ziji Emperor are all rebels. Seeing Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin, 2 9th-level emperors, come out, Emperor Thunder and Emperor Ziji frowned at the same time. However, when they thought of Lu Chen's true identity as the Emperor of Heaven, the look between their eyebrows, the gloom was swept away. So what about 2 great emperors in the 9th level? In front of the Emperor of Heaven, any great emperor is just paper. Lu Chen was not as optimistic as the 2 of them. Although Lu Chen also knew that he could become the Emperor of Heaven in the future, for now, he was definitely not a match for the 9th-level emperor. I originally thought of taking advantage of this opportunity to deal with Lu Yanghua and snatch the Tianyan stone back from Lu Yanghua, but now it seems that this matter needs to be considered in the long run. But having said that, although he can't do anything against the emperors of the 9th level, similarly, these great emperors of the 9th level can't do anything to him. Lu Chen said with a smile on his face, "Whether you are involved or not, isn't it obvious to you too?" Hearing Lu Chen's words, Emperor Yehun was furious, and his face suddenly fell. His 9th Highness is really sharp-tongued, but 9th Highness, you probably don't have time to take care of other things now. You betrayed the Shenyu dynasty, took away Queen Shenyu, and now you are still here spreading rumors and deceiving people. Have you never thought about what will happen next? After hearing what Emperor Yehun said, Lu Chen was still smiling, with no trace of panic on his face. Seeing that Lu Chen still looked calm, Lu Yanghua was a little puzzled. The 2 ballast stones of the Shenyu dynasty had already appeared here. Why could Lu Chen still be so calm? Could it be that Lu Chen thought the formation he arranged could protect him? Lu Chen said at this time, "I don't know what will happen to me, but I know that you will not end up well in the end." Seeing that Lu Chen looked like a dead pig who was not afraid of being scalded by boiling water, Emperor Yehun immediately saluted Lu Yanghua and said, "Your Majesty, I beg your Majesty to allow me to kill the rebels." Lu Yanghua said with an indifferent expression, "Yes." After Lu Yanghua finished speaking, the aura of the 9th-level Emperor Yehun was completely released, and the next moment, a huge gray-robed figure appeared in the void of the universe. Seeing that Emperor Yehun was about to take action, Emperor Thunder and Emperor Ziji felt their hearts tense. However, when they saw Lu Chen's indifferent look, they instantly felt at ease and pretended to be watching a show, as if it has nothing to do with them. Emperor Yehun frowned when he saw Lu Chen and others acting like nothing happened. He wanted to see who gave them the confidence to act like it had nothing to do with them. Immediately, Emperor Yehun mobilized all his spiritual power, and his huge Dharma image slowly raised his hand, facing the blue barrier in the distance. Zan Mingzi. The next moment, a huge finger flew out from Emperor Yehun's Dharma finger and headed straight for the barrier created by the fairy umbrella. In just a moment, the giant blue finger touched the blue barrier, but something unexpected happened to the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty at this moment. After Emperor Yehun's Zanming finger touched the blue barrier only had ripples, but it did not break directly, and there was not even a gap on it. Seeing this scene, the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty fell silent. Lu Yanghua clenched his fists, and the killing power in his body couldn't help but wreak havoc on the surrounding areas. How so? This barrier can actually block even the attacks of the 9th level Emperor. When did this kind of formation exist in this universe? Perhaps it is indeed possible to have such a formation in this universe, but it can only appear in those top holy places, and it is absolutely impossible to appear in such a place. Of course, there is another possibility, that is, there is a top force similar to Tianji Tower behind the Great Xia Dynasty. In the correct version, when Lu Yangwe thought of this possibility, he became even more angry. What kind of force dared to oppose the Shenyu dynasty and came to support Lu Chen and the Great Xia dynasty? Seeing that Emperor Yehun did not break the barrier protecting the Great Xia dynasty in the first time, Emperor Xuanlin, who was also in the 9th level, no longer waited and watched. He immediately showed his Dharma image, and in an instant, a huge golden giant appeared in the void. The golden giant held a big knife in his hand. Emperor Xuanlin did not hesitate at all and directly controlled the Dharma image to swing the long knife. Juyu Xuanming knife. With a knife swing, the thick power of death wrapped in the knife energy rushed straight to the blue barrier. However, the result was once again beyond the expectations of the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty. After the blade and the power of death came into contact with the barrier created by the fairy umbrella, they also only caused a little ripple on the barrier and then quickly dissipated. Seeing this scene, Emperor Yehun did not believe in evil and quickly attacked again, pointing again, but the result was still the same as before. Similarly, Emperor Xuanlin chose to attack again after Emperor Yehun attacked, and they attacked at the same place. Then the two emperors of the 9th level attacked alternately, but no matter how they attacked, the blue barrier still did not have any cracks. Now people finally understood why Lu Chen and his men were so confident. The Shenyu dynasty could not even break this formation barrier, let alone get rid of Lu Chen. Chapter 1155 Lu Chen, I wonder how long you can hold on. After Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin took turns to attack several times, they saw that there was still no gap in the barrier, so they had no choice but to stop reluctantly. They both turned to look at Lu Yangwe at the same time. At this time, Lu Yangwe had a dark face and said nothing. His eyes were huge and he was looking at the barrier. Emperor Yehun said helplessly, "Your Majesty, we have tried our best." At this time, Emperor Yehun even began to worry whether Lu Yangwe felt that the two 9th level emperors were playing him. Two 9th level emperors couldn't even break through the formation of a dynasty on the edge of the universe. No one would believe it if this was reported. But the fact is happening before our eyes. After who knows how long, Lu Yangwe said coldly, "So this is what you rely on. No wonder you are confident." Lu Chen asked with a smile, "Then what are you going to do now? Coming so far, if you can't even break through the barrier, you must be very unwilling." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Lu Yangwe's killing power became restless again, but he quickly calmed down. For now, there was really nothing he could do against Lu Chen. But there is no way now, which does not mean that there will be no way in the future. Behind him is the Tianji Tower, and the Tianji Tower will always have a way to break this formation. Another point is that this formation is so strong, which means that it takes a lot of spiritual energy to maintain this formation. The Great Xia Dynasty is just a dynasty on the edge of the universe. Even if all the spiritual power in the star field is consumed, I am afraid that it will not be able to maintain this formation for too long. Seeing that Lu Chen had no intention of going out to fight, the Ziji Emperor and the Thunder Emperor were a little confused. Their Majesty was also the Emperor of Heaven after all, so he shouldn't be afraid of the two 9th level emperors. Why did he seem to have no intention of taking action? Thunder Emperor and Ziji Emperor, you look at me, I look at you, and then Thunder Emperor asked, "Your Majesty, shouldn't we fight?" Lu Chen said calmly, "It's not necessary." After hearing this, Emperor Thunder and Emperor Ziji thought that maybe it was because Lu Chen wanted to give the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty a chance and wanted to see what they would choose in the end, so they did not choose to take action. Once the Emperor of Heaven really takes action, it will definitely bring terrifying and destructive power, so he will not take action easily. Lu Chen didn't care what the two of them thought. He glanced at Lu Yangwe and the two 9th level emperors again, and then said, "You can continue to try to break my formation, and I won't accompany you anymore. Quote. As soon as the words fell, Lu Chen's body disappeared on the spot. Seeing Lu Chen leave, Lu Yanghua's inner anger surged again. He traveled thousands of miles to come here, but in the end he couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Lu Yanghua immediately said to Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin, "Continue to attack. I don't believe that this formation can be maintained forever." Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin glanced at each other, and then said in unison, "Yes, Your Majesty." The two then teamed up to attack the blue barrier created by the fairy umbrella. Of course, no matter how they attack, the end result is the same. At this time, in the Feihong immortal boat, Empress Tianong had already sensed what was happening outside. She coldly said to Lu Chen, who was groping her body, "Is this what you said about letting me out?" Lu Chen said, "I didn't expect that two great emperors from the 9th level would come. I know you are very powerful, but facing the great emperor from the 9th level, you can't still be their opponent, right?" Empress Rainbow fell into silence. If it were a 9th level emperor, she would still be able to fight, but if two 9th level emperors joined forces, it would be really difficult for her to deal with them. What's more, there were not only two 9th level emperors outside the barrier, but also two 9th level emperors. There are some great emperors in the 8th level. Even if she were to kill the great emperor, she might still be defeated when faced with the siege of so many high-level great emperors. Unless her realm can be raised to the 5th level, after the realm of the great emperor who proves the way by killing is raised to the 5th level, her strength will undergo earth-shaking changes again. By that time, there will be very few great emperors in this universe who are hers opponent. But it is extremely difficult to break through to the 5th level of the great emperor. Even if Lu Chen's life seeds are slaughtered every day, it is estimated that it will take thousands of years. The farther the emperor gets to the back, the harder it becomes to break through. Empress Tianong has clearly felt the bottleneck of her realm, but there is another way to speed up her breakthrough. That is the luck of the dynasty. If the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty continues to increase sharply, perhaps with the blessing of the luck of the dynasty, the bottleneck of her realm will soon be loosened. If you want the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty to increase, you must do something beneficial to the Great Xia Dynasty, such as helping the Great Xia Dynasty expand. Thinking of this, Empress Tianong glanced at Lu Chen, who was attacking her with the corner of her eyes. Unexpectedly, she ended up being tied to this man's pirate ship. Thinking of this, Empress Tianong felt a little depressed. In her previous life, she was a loner and killed many people in the outside world. How could she be eaten to death by a man? That's all, just think of it as the catastrophe of her life. Thinking of this, Empress Tianong stopped paying attention to Lu Chen's random claws. A month passed in a blink of an eye. Lu Chen was busy improving the cultivation of his wives and concubines, and the Shenyu army continued to attack the barrier of the fairy umbrella. However, a month passed, and the fairy umbrella, the created barrier, is still as solid as it was at the beginning. Even if it is just a low-level fairy weapon, it is already an unsolvable existence in this universe. This makes Lu Chen realize that there may be a bigger world outside this universe, and this fairy umbrella comes from that world. In this way, the cross-border stone awarded by the system is used when leaving this universe. Outside the Bayan Star region, Lu Yanghua stood on the heavenly palace, staring at the barrier of the fairy umbrella. Next to Lu Yanghua were three emperors from the Tianji Tower wearing Taoist robes. Lu Yanghua said coldly, "Even your Tianji Tower has no way." One emperor said helplessly, "We have tried everything, but we still can't break this blue barrier." Another emperor said, "I have told the owner of the building what happened here. The owner may send a stronger emperor." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua felt a little better. These people couldn't solve this formation, and the strong men in the Tianji Tower should have a way. If even the strong men of Tianji Tower can't do anything, then the owner of Tianji Tower must be able to break this barrier. There can't be a formation in this universe that even the owner of Tianji Tower can't break. Tianji Tower is most restrained by formations, because they can calculate a way to break a formation through calculation. Looking at the light blue barrier in the distance, Lu Yanghua's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Lu Chen, I wonder how long you can hold on. As soon as Lu Yanghua finished speaking, a space fluctuation appeared beside him, and a 9th-level Emperor of Tianji Tower wearing Taoist robes appeared beside Lu Yanghua. Chapter 1156 Why did the immortal weapon appear? Seeing that the person coming was the Emperor of Tianji Tower, Lu Yanghua's heart moved slightly. The person who could break the formation had finally arrived. However, the next moment, the 9th-level Emperor poured cold water on Lu Yanghua. He said, Emperor Shenyu, our poster said that there are alien things in the Great Xia Dynasty. With your current strength, you can't kill Lu Chen. Hearing this, Lu Yanghua was stunned. Something from another world. In other words, this formation was created by something from another world. How is this possible? Why was Lu Chen able to obtain objects from another world? After Lu Yanghua came to his senses, he asked unwillingly, I can't do anything, is it possible that your Tianji Tower can't do anything either? You, the host, should be able to crack it, right? The 9th-level Emperor said, our poster has not thought of a good solution for the time being. He is looking for a way to solve it. He asked me to tell you that after he finds a way to crack it, he will take the initiative to go to the Great Xia Dynasty to destroy the alien object. Lu Yanghua fell into silence. He was so angry inside that Lu Chen had to take advantage of all the good things. Seeing that he was about to eliminate all the members of the royal family and completely control the fate of the Shenyu dynasty in his own hands, Lu Chen actually obtained an alien object. Why can he obtain something from another world? After Lu Yanghua was silent for a while, he finally said, return to the court. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yanghua took control of Tiangong and left without looking back. Since the owners of the Tianji building have already spoken to help him, there is no need for him to stay here any longer. He can't break this barrier anyway, and staying here is a waste of time. It would be better to destroy more dynasties and use the heaven-seizing technique. Improve your own strength. After Lu Yanghua left, the Shenyu dynasty's army also gradually evacuated. At this moment, Emperor Yehun and Emperor Xuanlin glanced at the direction in which Tiangong was leaving, and then turned to look at the blue barrier in front of them. The two people frowned, the expressions on their faces were extremely serious, and they looked very worried. Emperor Yehun said to himself, I didn't expect such a change to happen. Emperor Xuanlin also sighed slightly, I hope it will not affect His Majesty's plan. The two then stopped attacking the barrier of the fairy umbrella, and turned back to the Shenyu dynasty. After the Shenyu dynasty's army retreated, Lu Chen appeared at the edge of the Bayan Starfield group again, looking in the direction of the Shenyu dynasty. The corner of Lu Chen's mouth raised slightly. Next, it will be seen whether he breaks through to the 9th level of the Emperor first, or whether Lu Yanghua breaks through to the 9th level of the Emperor first. As long as he breaks through the 9th level Emperor realm, with the power he has at his disposal, no 9th level Emperor in this universe will be his opponent. At that time, he will have no big problem in taking back the Tianyan stone from Lu Yanghua. At the same time, Tianji Tower, Starry Sky Palace. In front of Xuantian, what was happening in the Bayan Starfield group at the moment was projected. When he saw the fairy umbrella covering the entire Great Xia Dynasty, Xuantian's face was very ugly. Xuantian said to himself, why do immortal weapons appear? There was obviously nothing when he came in, so why did an immortal weapon suddenly appear? Xuantian's expression was a little distorted. He obviously couldn't accept the appearance of the fairy umbrella. In the past, he had never discovered the existence of the fairy umbrella, nor had he felt the breath of any fairy weapon. This fairy weapon seemed to suddenly appear in this universe. The entire universe is under his control. Immortal weapons should not appear in this universe. Xuantian suddenly thought of someone. Did she do it? No, even if she still retains the memory from the beginning, she can't obtain the fairy weapon. Xuantian thought of Tianji Nu, but then he thought that Tianji Nu was only good at deducing the future. Even if Tianji Nu retained the memory of her previous life, she would not be able to leave this universe, and it would be even less possible for her to obtain an immortal weapon, so it would be impossible for her to obtain an immortal weapon. It was brought by Tianji Nu. Neither Tianjinu nor Lu Chen brought it into this universe in the first place, so what happened to this fairy weapon? Zantian tried his best to calm down his emotions. No, this fairy weapon must be destroyed in a way, otherwise he will probably survive the great catastrophe of the era again. If he recovers all his memories, my main body will be destroyed. Quote. Thinking of this, Xuantian fell into deep thought and began to think about how to destroy the fairy umbrella. He could feel that the fairy umbrella was only the lowest level fairy weapon, but even the lowest level fairy weapon was not easy to destroy. Xuantian pondered for a long time, but could not find a good way to destroy the fairy umbrella. The fairy umbrella is like an indigestible thing. If you want to forcefully destroy the fairy umbrella, it will probably destroy the entire universe. If the universe is destroyed, then he will be gone. There was no way he would sacrifice himself just to destroy an immortal weapon. Since the fairy umbrella cannot be destroyed, the only last option left is to get the fairy umbrella out of the universe. Thinking of this, Xuantian's heart became even heavier. Now the entire Great Xia Dynasty is protected by the fairy umbrella. If the fairy umbrella is to be expelled from the universe, it means that the Great Xia Dynasty is also expelled from the universe. In this way, wouldn't his plan of countless eras come to nothing? At this time, the black and white aura on Xuantian's body continued to rage in the starry sky palace. His mood became irritable again. He was unwilling to give up the plan of billions of years because of a low-level fairy weapon. No, I can't give up. There should be other ways. If I can trick Lu Chen out of the protection range of the fairy weapon, and then immediately get the fairy weapon out of this universe, then my plan should be able to continue. Talking to himself here, Xuantian fell into deep thought again. It was not a big problem to trick Lu Chen out of the protection range of the fairy umbrella. The problem was that the Lu Chen he tricked out might not be Lu Chen's real body. Xuantian planned to take a long-term view. He would never allow the things he had planned for billions of years to be destroyed. The news that the Shenyu dynasty failed to attack the Great Xia Dynasty soon spread throughout the universe. When the news reached the top holy places, they couldn't believe it was true. The major forces quickly sent out a large number of spies to get information. As a result, the intelligence they got showed that the news was true, which almost shocked the emperors in the universe. The Great Xia Dynasty was just a dynasty that was established not long ago on the edge of the universe, while the Shenyu dynasty was a dynasty with several 9-level emperors. The Shenyu dynasty was so powerful, but it couldn't destroy a small Great Xia dynasty. What was going on with the Great Xia dynasty? As more and more news spread, people gradually figured out why the Shenyu dynasty failed to conquer it. For a time, all the top forces became interested in the protective formation of the Great Xia dynasty. Chapter 1157. The Great Xia Dynasty and AMP, #039, S external expansion. A formation that can withstand all attacks from 2 9th-level emperors can also withstand attacks from some high-level demons. Google search for TWKAN. The most important thing is that this formation may help them survive the epical catastrophe. So far, the entire universe, even the formation masters of those top holy places, cannot create a formation that can completely resist the 9th-level emperor. The formations of those top holy places can only resist for a period of time at most, and after a period of time, their formations will still have various problems. But the formation of the Great Xia Dynasty is different. According to the intelligence gathered by various parties, when the 2 9th-level emperors of the Shenyu dynasty attacked the Great Xia Dynasty's barrier, at most they only caused some ripples, and even no gaps were left. The solidity of this formation can be imagined. In order to obtain this formation of the Great Xia Dynasty, various forces sent envoys to the Great Xia Dynasty, hoping to exchange for the formation of the Great Xia Dynasty. However, all the envoys sent by all forces to the Great Xia Dynasty had no way to enter the Great Xia Dynasty, and Lu Chen was too lazy to pay attention to them. The so-called formation of the Great Xia Dynasty was a barrier created by the fairy umbrella. To pass this formation to them, they had to give them the fairy umbrella. Lu Chen was not a fool. How could he give them the fairy umbrella? So Lu Chen ignored all the forces that wanted the Great Xia Dynasty's national defense formation. Yunhua Palace. Palace Master's Hall. Empress Dusheng sat on the throne made of spiritual crystals, watching the screen played in the hall, and said to herself, is this formation really so powerful? Even two emperors of the 9th level can't break it. Empress Dusheng initially thought of letting her clone go to the Great Xia Dynasty to bring Lai Hongyun out. Now Lai Hongyun is the most suitable person for her to take over, but after her clone arrived at the Great Xia Dynasty, like Emperor Yanu, she couldn't break the barrier. In desperation, she had to let her clone come back first. Just at this time, she heard that the Shenyu dynasty was going to attack the Xia Dynasty, so her clone did not return to Yunhua Palace immediately, but waited on the road that the Shenyu army had to pass, wanting to see if the Shenyu army could break the formation. As a result, not only the Shenyu army could not break the formation, but even the two emperors of the 9th level of the Shenyu dynasty could not make any impact on the formation when they joined forces. At this moment, the Dusheng Empress was lying on the ice crystal throne, tapping on the ice crystal armrest with one hand, as if she was thinking about something. If she continued like this, her body would probably be destroyed, and maybe it had already been destroyed now. But even if it was destroyed, this matter could not be let go. As an emperor, she also had the dignity of an emperor, and she still couldn't swallow this breath in her heart. However, the problem at hand was that even the two 9th level emperors of the Shenyu dynasty could not break the barrier of the Xia dynasty, so even if her main body went to the Xia dynasty, she could not break the barrier, let alone get rid of the evil thief who robbed her body. At this time, Empress Dusheng suddenly thought of a way. The Shenyu dynasty had the Tianji Tower behind it, and the Tianji Tower would definitely find a way to break the barrier. She could join forces with the Shenyu dynasty. Thinking of this, Empress Dusheng immediately split a clone and let the clone go to the Shenyu dynasty, intending to form an alliance with the Shenyu dynasty. Xia Dynasty. Tianqian World, Underground Training Room. Lu Chen's main body sat in the middle of the underground palace, feeling the luck of the entire Xia Dynasty. At this time, he couldn't help but sigh slightly. He didn't expect that the Xia Dynasty already had such a strong luck, and even the dynasty's luck was even stronger than that of the Shenyu Dynasty, but the main body couldn't break through. As expected, the further you go, the harder it is to break through. It seems that you still have to continue to expand outward. Thinking of this, Lu Chen immediately mobilized his clones and asked them to summon the integrated New War Dragon Army to expand outward with the New War Dragon Army. In order to break through to the realm of the Emperor, in addition to the dual cultivation of himself and his wives and concubines, he must also accumulate more dynasty luck as soon as possible. Of course, even if Lu Chen does not rely on the dynasty luck, he can rely on dual cultivation to reach the realm of the Emperor, but this will slow down the speed of cultivation. There are still about 10,000 years, or even less than 10,000 years before he will face the era catastrophe. Only by breaking through to the realm of the Emperor as soon as possible can he have more confidence to fight against the era catastrophe. Outside the Bian star group, it is no longer the edge of the universe. Next to the Bian star group is a huge cosmic structure called the Lingzhou superstar group. There are hundreds of star groups of the same size as the Bian star group in the Lingzhou superstar group, and there are also hundreds of super dynasties inside. When the army of the Shenyu dynasty entered the Lingzhou superstar region, they only conquered one star region to open the way, and did not go to war with all the dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar region. Although the Shenyu dynasty is powerful, the Emperor Shenwu is gone after all, and Liu Yanghua has just broken through to become an emperor. No matter how powerful the Shenyu dynasty is, it is impossible to attack so many dynasties at the same time. Lu Chen will not attack so many dynasties at the same time either. He will start from the dynasty close to the Bian star region in the Lingzhou superstar region, and then eat away all the dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar region step by step. In the correct version of Yi, Lingzhou superstar region, Dongwang dynasty. In the magnificent hall, a shirtless man sat on the dragon chair. He held a beautiful fairy in his left hand and a beautiful woman in his right hand. In front of him, there was a beautiful woman pouring wine. In the hall, there was singing and dancing, smoke, a scene of immortal happiness. After drinking a sip of the wine fed by the maid, Emperor Dongwang couldn't help but sigh. Even if he was happy now, his mood was not good. Nowadays, the universe is becoming more and more chaotic, wars are everywhere, and demons are everywhere. Moreover, as time goes by, the number of demons is increasing, and they are getting stronger and stronger, and it is becoming more and more troublesome to deal with them. In this period of time, hundreds of demons have appeared in the Dongwang dynasty. Fortunately, the strength of these demons is not very good. But Emperor Dongwang understands that all this is only temporary. The strength of the demons that appear each time is stronger than the last one. At the beginning, some demons did not need him to take action personally, but if he did not take action on the demons that appeared these days, those quasi-emperors could not solve them. Emperor Dongwang was originally thinking about enjoying himself before the great calamity of the era came. Looking at the current situation, it is likely that the great calamity of the era has not yet arrived. Either his dynasty will be destroyed by other dynasties, or his dynasty will be destroyed by the devil. Thinking of this, Emperor Dongwang had no interest in the beautiful women in front of him. He picked up the wine glass again and drank the wine in the glass. At this moment, a quasi-emperor suddenly ran into the hall. "Your Majesty, something bad has happened." End of this chapter. Chapter 1158. Wait, what did this person just say? When he heard someone saying that something bad was going on, Emperor Dongwang's face became even more ugly. The first thing he thought of was that there was a demon somewhere that even the quasi-emperor couldn't deal with. Emperor Dongwang rubbed his forehead, and then released his spiritual thoughts to explore the entire dynasty, and found that there did not seem to be any demons in the Dongwang dynasty. Emperor Dongwang thought to himself, could it be that the demons born in other dynasties are coming to Dongwang dynasty, but they have not yet reached the star domain ruled by Dongwang dynasty? Thinking of this, Emperor Dongwang asked, "What's going on?" The quasi-emperor who broke into the hall quickly said, "A large number of strange immortal boats have appeared in the Weihai Star territory." Upon hearing this, Emperor Dongwang was stunned for a moment. Weihai Star territory is on the edge of Dongwang dynasty, which is also the border of Dongwang dynasty. There are a large number of ferry boats in the border area, which means that someone plans to attack Dongwang dynasty. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. But why did they have no news at all in the beginning? Although he has been enjoying himself most of the time recently, he is more concerned about the movements of the surrounding dynasties, especially the dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar group. He has never heard of any dynasty preparing for war. Where did these immortal boats come from? Then he thought of a possibility, and for a moment, his face turned pale. Could it be that the army of the Shenyu dynasty is coming? Before the quasi-emperor could speak, another great emperor suddenly appeared in the hall. The great emperor was wearing a gray robe and had gray hair, but his body looked strong and strong. It should be impossible. The Shenyu dynasty originally attacked the dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar group just to find a way out. And if it is really the army of the Shenyu dynasty, it is impossible for it to appear in the Weihai Star territory. After hearing what Emperor Zhelang said, Emperor Dongwang felt that it made sense. The Shenyu dynasty's army had already evacuated. The Shenyu dynasty is in the Central Star territory. If the Shenyu dynasty's army wants to attack the Dongwang dynasty, the direction in which their army should appear should not be in the direction of the Weihai Star territory. Further outside the Weihai Star territory is the Bian Star territory group. If the Shenyu dynasty wants to attack the Dongwang dynasty, the first to suffer are the other dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar group. The other dynasties are standing in the way of the Dongwang dynasty. Thinking of this, Emperor Dongwang relaxed a little. As long as it wasn't the army of the Shenyu dynasty, it wouldn't be a big problem. But having said that, it is neither the dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar group nor the army of the Shenyu dynasty, so who is coming to attack the Dongwang dynasty? It seems that the entire Bian Star region has been occupied by the Great Xia Dynasty. The immortal boat coming from that direction should most likely belong to the Great Xia Dynasty, right? Not long ago, the Great Xia Dynasty was beaten by the Shenyu Dynasty's army and cowered in that blue barrier. Because of the solidity of that barrier, the entire dynasty in the universe knew about this. Why is the Great Xia Dynasty taking the initiative to send troops outside now? Emperor Dongwang thought for a while, and then looked at Emperor Zileng in the main hall. Is it possible that it is the immortal boat of the Great Xia Dynasty? Emperor Zileng said, I'm afraid we can only know this by looking in the past. Although everyone knows about the Great Xia Dynasty, we also know that the Great Xia Dynasty has a solid formation. As for the specific strength of the Great Xia Dynasty, we don't know anything. Emperor Dongwang stood up immediately and issued an order directly, assemble all the armies of the dynasty immediately and go to the Weihai Star territory to defend against the invading enemies. Regardless of whether it is the Great Xia Dynasty or not, and no matter what dynasty the immortal boat comes from, as long as it is not the army of the Shenyu Dynasty, Emperor Dongwang cannot easily give up on the Dongwang Dynasty. Although for him, the strength blessed by the luck of the dynasty was dispensable, he did not expect to survive the catastrophe of the era anyway. But he planned to enjoy his last happy time in Dongwang Dynasty, and he could not let other dynasties destroy his place of enjoyment. Soon, the Dongwang Dynasty gathered hundreds of ferry boats and rushed to the Weihai Star territory. When Dongwang Emperor arrived at the Weihai Star territory, those mysterious ferry boats stayed in the void outside the Weihai Star territory, lined up in a row, motionless. Seeing those starships exuding silver-white metallic luster, the four emperors of the Dongwang Dynasty felt very confused. They had never seen such a ferry ship before. At this time, Emperor Zileng said, It's strange, why does this immortal boat not look like an immortal boat, and it doesn't seem to be driven by spiritual power? Can it move? Emperor Dongwang released his spiritual thoughts at this time, wanting to find out what was going on with the warships of the Zonlong army. As a result, the next moment, he felt dozens of powerful auras. Emperor Dongwang's expression changed greatly, and he quickly withdrew his spiritual consciousness. Before his spiritual thoughts were completely released, he had already felt at least 10 great emperors. If his divine thoughts swept across the entire immortal boat fleet, who knows how many great emperors there would be. Seeing Emperor Dongwang's expression change drastically, an emperor next to Emperor Dongwang asked curiously, Your Majesty, what did you find out? The great emperor did not dare to use his spiritual thoughts to explore the situation of those strange immortal boats at this time. Emperor Dongwang did not answer immediately. He stared directly at the starships ahead. At this moment, a great emperor from the War Dragon army flew out of a starship and flew to the void in front of the Dongwang Dynasty's immortal boat team. Then he spoke in a voice transmission, announced the holy order of the Emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty. In order to avoid unnecessary killing, the Dongwang Dynasty must surrender within 3 days, otherwise the War Dragon army of the Great Xia Dynasty will flatten the Dongwang Dynasty. Hearing this, the 3 emperors next to the great emperor of Dongwang changed their faces instantly. Looking at the correct version one by one, these strange immortal boats are actually from the Great Xia Dynasty. Wait, what did this person say just now? Everyone instantly realized a key word. Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty is the Emperor of Heaven. How is this possible? When did someone in this universe take that step? If someone has already taken that step, it is impossible that there is no movement at all. They should have felt the pressure of the Emperor of Heaven a long time ago. But then again, if the Emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty is not the Emperor of Heaven, then if he dares to pretend to be the Emperor of Heaven, the heavenly Tao will not tolerate him. Now that others dare to say it openly, does it prove that there is really a possibility that there is a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty? The 4 emperors, Dongwang Emperor, looked at each other. At this time, Dongwang Emperor muttered, No. Impossible. If there really is a heavenly emperor, how could the army of Shenyu Dynasty withdraw safely? Dongwang Emperor thought of a key point. The emperor cannot be insulted. If a cultivator with a lower realm than the emperor calls the emperor's name, he may be detected by the emperor's divine thoughts and directly erased. Even the emperor is so domineering, let alone the heavenly emperor. Shenyu Dynasty has sent an army to attack the Great Xia Dynasty. Can the heavenly emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty still endure it? Chapter 1159. Fortunately, they surrendered quickly just now. In the opinion of Emperor Dongwang, if there really is a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty, then the army of the Shenyu Dynasty would probably not be able to return. Not to mention the army of the Shenyu Dynasty, even the two ninth-level emperors of the Shenyu Dynasty would also fall in the Great Xia Dynasty. After hearing what Emperor Dongwang said, Emperor Zhelang said on the side, could it be the emperor of the last era? When these words came out, Emperor Dongwang and the other two emperors were stunned, especially Emperor Dongwang, who was still saying it was impossible just now. His eyes became dull. If it was the emperor who survived the last era, the other party would inevitably be suppressed by the heavenly way of this era, and his strength would decline, but the heavenly emperor is the heavenly emperor, and he will always find a way to restore his strength. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. If there really is a heavenly emperor who survived the last era in the Great Xia Dynasty, the opponent's strength is likely not fully recovered, so they did not attack the army of the Shenyu Dynasty. Now that the Great Xia Dynasty has taken the initiative to send troops to expand outward, it is very likely that the heavenly emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty has already recovered his strength, and the opponent does not intend to continue to forbear. Thinking of this possibility, the people of the Dongwang Dynasty took a breath of cold air. The heavenly emperor is the heavenly emperor, regardless of whether the opponent is the heavenly emperor of this era. The heavenly emperor's suppression of the great emperor is absolute. If the heavenly emperor fully recovers his strength, the entire universe may be under the control of this heavenly emperor. At this time, the four great emperors of the Dongwang Dynasty looked at each other again, and no one continued to speak. Although this is just a guess at present, since the other party dares to bring out the title of the Emperor of Heaven and is not afraid of the punishment of the heavenly Tao, then this possibility is really possible. After an unknown period of time, the emperor next to Emperor Dongwang asked, if there is really an emperor of heaven in the Great Xia Dynasty, what should we do? Even if there is really an emperor of heaven, the strength of that emperor of heaven is probably not fully restored. If they resist at this time, they may not be unable to resist. But, if they resist now, when the strength of the emperor of heaven is restored, I am afraid that their Dongwang Dynasty will die miserably. Emperor Dongwang did not answer immediately. He silently looked at the strange ferry boat belonging to the Great Xia Dynasty in the void in the distance. At this time, he remembered the powerful auras he had just felt, and finally sighed helplessly. He did not intend to fight against the epical catastrophe, but just wanted to enjoy his own dynasty in this last time, but someone still came to trouble him. Forget it, it's nothing more than a decline in strength. It's just right that I can go to the central star field to take a look. At this point, Emperor Dongwang quickly transmitted his voice to the distant void and said, Dongwang Dynasty is willing to surrender to Xia Dynasty. Please let the people of Dongwang Dynasty go and don't increase the killing. Lu Chen's clone sat in the starship, and then responded lightly with the power of killing, yes. When the sound waves swept through Emperor Dongwang and others with the power of killing, a flash of horror flashed in the eyes of Emperor Dongwang and others. Is this the power of killing? The Emperor of Xia Dynasty actually proved his way by killing. Oh my god. Fortunately, they surrendered quickly just now. Even if the Emperor of Xia Dynasty is not the Emperor of Heaven, even if the other party has not restored the strength of the Emperor of Heaven, just the point of proving the way by killing is not something that the current Dongwang Dynasty can deal with. At this moment, the four emperors of Emperor Dongwang felt relieved, but soon they thought of a problem. An emperor who proved his way by killing, when attacking another dynasty, would actively persuade the other dynasty to surrender, and even say that he would not massacre the people of the attacked dynasty. Is this possible? That is to prove the way by killing. When the army of the Shenyu dynasty went to the Xia dynasty, they killed all the way to the end, and did not accept the surrender of any dynasty. Even the dynasties that surrendered did not end up much better in the end. When they thought of this, the faces of Emperor Dongwang and others turned pale. They suspected that the Xia dynasty was deceiving them to surrender. After they surrendered, the army of the Xia dynasty entered the Dongwang dynasty and started a massacre. Just when people thought so, another emperor of the Zonlong army came to Emperor Dongwang and others. Since you have chosen to surrender, go back and prepare for the surrender ceremony, and transfer all the dynasty's luck to the Xia Dynasty. Hearing this, Emperor Dongwang was stunned for a moment. Prepare for the surrender ceremony, and transfer all the dynasty's luck to the Xia Dynasty. Generally speaking, there are two ways to transfer the luck of a dynasty. One is to directly push down a dynasty like the Shenyu dynasty did, but there is a very big disadvantage in doing so. If you choose to directly push down a dynasty, then as the people of this dynasty continue to die, the luck of this dynasty will become weaker and weaker. When this dynasty perishes, the luck of the dynasty will be very thin. Therefore, in order to obtain the luck of other dynasties, some dynasties will use coercion and inducement to indirectly control the dynasty first, and then let the dynasty choose to surrender voluntarily, so that they can obtain a more complete dynasty luck. However, the main goal of the killing emperor is not the luck of the dynasty most of the time, but to create more killings. For example, when the Shenwu emperor was alive, he fought all over the world, and he never heard of him accepting the surrender of other dynasties. Now the emperor of the War Dragon army said that he was going to prepare for the surrender ceremony and wanted the complete dynasty's luck, which means that the emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty did not intend to create massacres in the Dongwang dynasty. In the correct version of Yi. But, a killing emperor actually focused on the dynasty's luck and did not want to create massacres. Is this possible? After Emperor Dongwang came to his senses, he asked cautiously, "Didn't His Majesty prove his way by killing?" Hearing this question, the Emperor of Zonlong army knew what Emperor Dongwang was thinking now, and then he said, "Although our Majesty proves his way by killing, his way of cultivation is different. He will not create killing for no reason. Don't worry about this. He just wants the luck of the dynasty. For our Great Xia Dynasty, the more people we absorb, the stronger the luck of the dynasty will be." The words of Emperor Zonlong army completely overturned Emperor Dongwang's cognition of the emperors who proved their way by killing. He thought that all the emperors who killed were crazy people who only knew how to kill, but he didn't expect to meet an emperor who valued the luck of the dynasty more. This is a bit strange. But judging from the other party's appearance, he should not be lying. After all, there are so many emperors. If they really wanted to create killing and massacre the people of Dongwang dynasty, they would have rushed in directly and would not be waiting there. Thinking of this, Emperor Dongwang said quickly, "Okay, I will go and prepare for the surrender ceremony." After he finished speaking, Emperor Dongwang left one emperor to take charge of the handover, and the rest of the people hurried back to the Imperial Star to prepare for the surrender ceremony. As long as the star field of the Dongwang dynasty can be brought under the rule of the Xia Dynasty as soon as possible, then even if the emperor who proved his way by killing, he would not be able to slaughter the people of the Dongwang dynasty at will. End of this chapter. Chapter 1160. If we say there is a heavenly emperor, does that mean there really is one? It took less than a month for the news of Dongwang dynasty to surrender to Xia Dynasty to spread throughout the Lingzhou superstar group. Regarding this news, the dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar group did not believe it for the first time. The Great Xia Dynasty was trapped in the blue turtle shell by the Shenyu dynasty's army not long ago. How long had the Shenyu dynasty's army left? How dare the Great Xia Dynasty send troops to expand? Is this possible? Aren't they afraid that the Shenyu dynasty's army will come back? But soon the major dynasties learned from the spies they sent out that the news was true. After confirming that the news was true, people became even more unbelievable. What gave the Great Xia Dynasty the courage to expand towards the Lingzhou superstar group? There are several super dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar field group. The number of emperors in these super dynasties is at least 10 or more. Some dynasties even have emperors in the 9th level. After hearing that the Great Xia Dynasty captured the Dongwang dynasty, the dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar group had different reactions. The dynasties that were closer to the Dongwang dynasty completed the assembly of their armies in a lot of time, and brought their armies together. Sent to some key star areas, intending to resist the attack of the Great Xia Dynasty. Even if some dynasties heard that the Xia Dynasty had occupied the Dongwang dynasty, they still did not take the Xia Dynasty seriously. Dongwang dynasty can only be regarded as a low-level dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar group, with only 4 great emperors, and none of these 4 great emperors has exceeded the 5th level. It is normal for such a dynasty to be defeated by the Great Xia Dynasty. As the Great Xia Dynasty's army continues to move deeper into the central star field, the strength of the dynasty encountered will become even more powerful. If the Great Xia Dynasty continues to expand, sooner or later it will hit the wall. Tianlu Dynasty. Emperor Tianlu sat on the dragon chair, staring at the projection in the hall. Seeing the countless immortal boats in the hall, Emperor Tianlu sneered. At this time, Emperor Tianlu said, "A mere low-level dynasty scared them." At this time, there were several emperors standing in the main hall. After they learned that the Xia Dynasty had annexed the Dongwang Dynasty, they rushed to the main hall as soon as possible. At this time, an emperor in the main hall said, "Your Majesty, I heard that the Xia Dynasty's formation is very stable. Why don't we take this opportunity to attack the Xia Dynasty and snatch that formation?" Emperor Tianlu said calmly, "You also said that the formation is so stable that even the 2 9th-level emperors from the Shenyu Dynasty couldn't break it. Do you still want to snatch it? You should tell me, how do you want to rob it?" The emperor immediately said, "Although the formation is strong, I heard that the dynasty leader of the Great Xia Dynasty has come out of the formation. When they attacked the Dongwang Dynasty, the dynasty leader was there." Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianlu was stunned for a moment. Out. If Lu Chen comes out of the formation, then this matter can be planned. Emperor Tianlu fell into deep thought. After a while, Emperor Tianlu continued to send people to investigate to see if Lu Chen really came out of the Great Xia Dynasty's formation. In addition, the investigators, it's time to pay attention and don't scare the snake. "Yes, Your Majesty." Emperor Tianlu then glanced at the projection in the hall again. With a wave of his hand, the projection instantly dissipated. Emperor Tianlu didn't pay attention to the Great Xia Dynasty. Even if the Great Xia Dynasty had a very strong formation, although he knew that he probably couldn't break that formation, if the Great Xia Dynasty took the initiative to attack them, then it's different. When the time comes, he will kill as many people as there are people from the Great Xia Dynasty. Just when Emperor Tianlu was about to stop paying attention to the affairs of the Great Xia Dynasty, a white light flashed in the hall, and then another emperor appeared in the hall. After the emperor appeared in the hall, he immediately said to Emperor Tianlu, "Your Majesty, do you already know about the Dongwang Dynasty?" Hearing this question, Emperor Tianlu laughed, and then said, "I know, don't pay too much attention." The great emperor continued, "Has Your Majesty heard that there is a person suspected to be the Emperor of Heaven in the Great Xia Dynasty?" Emperor of Heaven. Hearing these 2 words, the other emperors in the hall all looked at the emperor who reported the news, and even Emperor Tianlu, who was sitting on the dragon chair, straightened up. After Emperor Tianlu reacted, he frowned and said, "Impossible, where did the Emperor of Heaven come from in this universe?" The emperor who reported the news continued, "According to the information I gathered, before the Great Xia Dynasty attacked the Dongwang Dynasty, they asked the Dongwang Dynasty to surrender in the name of the Emperor of Heaven. As soon as the Dongwang Dynasty heard that the Great Xia Dynasty had a heavenly emperor, that's why I chose not to resist and surrender directly. And the so-called Emperor of Heaven is still a heavenly emperor who proves his way through killing." Check out the correct version one by one. Every dynasty had spies from other dynasties. As the Dongwang Dynasty was so big, there were also many spies from other dynasties. It was impossible to hide this little bit of news, and it spread quickly. Of course, Lu Chen never thought of hiding it. The name Emperor of Heaven was used to scare people. If he could use the name of Emperor of Heaven to scare some dynasties into surrendering, he would have saved a lot of time. At this moment, all the emperors in the hall fell into silence. That was the Emperor of Heaven. No one would ever dare to claim to be the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty dared to pretend to be the Emperor of Heaven. Aren't they afraid of heaven's punishment? Or is there really a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty? Emperor Tianlu laughed at this time. They said there is a heavenly emperor, so there is really a heavenly emperor. They just want to scare those low-level dynasties, but... At this point, Emperor Tianlu paused, but it is very likely that he proved his Tao by killing. After Emperor Shenwu, there was Emperor Shenyu who also proved his Tao by killing, and Emperor Shenyu was the son of Emperor Shenwu. As the son of Emperor Shenwu, it is not impossible that Lu Chen inherited the Tao of Emperor Shenwu. But Emperor Tianlu still did not take Lu Chen seriously. Even if Lu Chen really proved his Tao by killing, Lu Chen's current realm could not be his opponent. Emperor Tianlu had a thoughtful expression on his face at this time, but then again, if Lu Chen proved his Tao by killing, then I'm afraid we can't let him grow any longer. Once the Emperor of Killing grows up, the Tianlu dynasty will be destroyed. It is very likely that Lu Chen has not succeeded in proving his Tao for a long time. In order to improve his strength, he chose to attack the dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar region. Once Lu Chen, the emperor who proved his Tao by killing, creates too much killing, his strength will increase exponentially. At that time, even the 9th emperor will probably not be able to compete with him. This is indeed a huge threat in the eyes of Emperor Tianlu. As for the fact that there is an emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty, Emperor Tianlu can't believe it. Request leave. I am going to attend the annual meeting and I need 2 days off. End of this chapter. Chapter 1161. The baby of the Tiannong Queen is born. After learning that Lu Chen might be a great emperor who proved his truth by killing, Emperor Tianlu paid more attention to the Great Xia Dynasty, and he sent more people to keep an eye on Lu Chen. Once he was sure that Lu Chen had come out of the turtle formation of the Great Xia Dynasty, he would personally take action. For this great emperor who proved his truth by killing, he was determined to eradicate him. The great catastrophe of the era was about to begin, and his dynasty could not have any problems at this time. Eastward Dynasty, Emperor Star. Lu Chen sat on the dragon throne that Emperor Dongwang had sat on before, and looked at the beauties in the hall, and couldn't help but laugh. You are quite good at enjoying yourself. Hearing this, Emperor Dongwang, who was sitting in the first position on the lower right of the dragon throne, smiled and said, Your Majesty, from now on, these women are all yours. All the dancers in the hall were the proud saints of the major forces of the Dongwang dynasty. In order to enjoy his last moments, Emperor Dongwang went through several rounds of selection and only then selected these women to come to his imperial palace. It's a pity that before he had time to enjoy them, the Xia dynasty came over, and Emperor Dongwang had to give them all to Lu Chen. Of course, Emperor Dongwang didn't feel reluctant at all. It was just beauties, and there were plenty of them in the Dongwang dynasty. Moreover, after the Dongwang dynasty joined the Xia dynasty, Emperor Dongwang's strength also improved to a higher level, which made Emperor Dongwang very happy. After surrendering to the Great Xia dynasty, its strength not only did not decline, but also improved. He had to hold on to the thigh of the Great Xia dynasty. Lu Chen said lightly, No need, I won't take away what others like. Lu Chen thought to himself that those confidants in his harem could beat these women with their beauty. How could he be interested in these women? Lu Chen continued, Tell me about the situation of the major forces in the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group. The Great Xia Dynasty entered the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group for the first time, and it was not particularly familiar with the distribution of forces in the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group. Lu Chen did have a star map in his hand, but the star map did not show the strength of the major dynasties, and he did not know the specific strength of those dynasties. Although he did not know, as a member of the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group, Emperor Dongwang must know what forces there are in the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group and how strong those forces are. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Emperor Dongwang immediately said, Yes, Your Majesty. Most of the dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar region are low-level dynasties, and their strength is similar to that of the Dongwang dynasty. There is nothing to pay attention to these dynasties. Once Your Majesty's army arrives, they may surrender directly. The 4 dynasties that deserve the most attention in the Lingzhou Superstar region are the Tianlu dynasty, Zhengyang dynasty, Dongyang dynasty, and Lingyun dynasty. The strongest among them is the Tianlu dynasty. The emperor of the Tianlu dynasty is a great emperor of the 9th level. Hearing this, Lu Chen fell into deep thought. He didn't expect to meet the great emperor of the 9th level so soon. If the other party appeared, then with their current strength, they might not be the opponent of the Tianlu dynasty. This is more troublesome. Just when Lu Chen was silent, his body far away in the Tiantian world suddenly felt a surge of power pouring into his body. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. He also rushed directly to the 5th level of the Great Emperor. What's going on? Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he quickly used his divine sense to explore the entire Great Xia Dynasty, and soon he found the source of this power. Then, he came to the side of the Tiannong Empress without hesitation. At this moment, in the arms of the Tiannong Empress, there was a baby emitting blood-red killing power. Lu Chen sensed through his blood that this was his child, but he still felt a little unbelievable. He remembered that the belly of the Tiannong Empress had never grown. How could it be born today? Could it be that there was a small space in the belly of the Tiannong Empress? Seeing Lu Chen coming, the Tiannong Empress glanced at him coldly, and now her mission was finally completed. Lu Chen had no reason to stop her from going out to kill. The Tiannong Empress said directly, "He was born." The Tiannong Empress said this, and she believed that Lu Chen understood what she meant. Hearing the voice of the Rainbow Queen, Lu Chen came back to his senses. He smiled and said, "I know, you've worked hard." After the voice fell, Lu Chen reached out to take the child from the Rainbow Queen's arms, but the Rainbow Queen did not give the child to Lu Chen. Seeing that the Rainbow Queen held the child aside and did not let him touch it, Lu Chen asked in confusion, "What's wrong? As the father of this child, can't he touch it?" The Rainbow Queen said coldly, "My mission has been completed. You don't need to interfere in my affairs in the future." Hearing this, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then laughed. "What's the matter?" The Rainbow Queen is planning to hold the Emperor hostage to command the princes. Lu Chen then said, "The child has just been born. Do you want him to be born without a mother?" The Rainbow Queen did not respond to Lu Chen's words. Her eyes emitting blood-red light stared faintly. Lu Chen continued, "I can relax the restrictions appropriately, but no matter what, you have to take care of the child. I don't want the child to be unable to see his mother since he was born." As the Lord of the Great Xia Dynasty, Lu Chen can let anyone take care of his child and create a good environment for his growth, but no matter what, he doesn't want his child to not see his mother from childhood to adulthood. Maternal love is still very important for a child. Just as Lu Chen said this, the baby in the arms of the Tiannong Queen actually laughed, looking very happy. Lu Chen said, "See, even our child agrees with me." At this time, the killing power on the baby's body began to be released continuously, and in an instant, the whole room was filled with killing power. And the baby's cultivation level also continued to rise at this moment. In just a moment, the baby's body exuded the Tao rhyme of a quasi-emperor. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was stunned. Just born as a quasi-emperor. Is it true? He even suspected that his child was possessed by something. Lu Chen hurriedly checked the baby's body, and found that there was no sign of the baby's soul being possessed. At this time, the Rainbow Queen was also in extreme shock. She had seen many proud children in her previous life, but this was the first time she saw someone become a quasi-emperor right after birth. And this child was her own child. The most important thing was that this child seemed to be able to use the power of killing. The whole room was filled with the power of killing, but these killing powers did not attack Lu Chen and the Rainbow Queen, which obviously showed that the child's control over the power of killing had reached a very high level. Just when Lu Chen was distracted, the system prompt sound came late. End of this chapter. Chapter 1163 The Rapid Expansion of the Great Xia Dynasty. U003C ends U003E. After seeing that the realm of the Rainbow Empress had broken through to the 6th level of the Great Emperor, Lu Chen suddenly thought of a question. The Great Emperor of Killing could fight across several levels, and the Rainbow Empress still had the Saint-level Imperial Sword in her hand. Now her strength is probably almost the same as that of a Great Emperor of the 9th level, right? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised. Now there is probably no one in the entire Lingzhou superstar region group who can stop the expansion of the Great Xia Dynasty. Even the Tianlu dynasty, which has a 9-level great emperor sitting in charge, can't do it. Seeing Lu Chen staring at her with a meaningful smile again, the scarlet eyes of the Rainbow Empress glared at Lu Chen coldly. I don't know why, she seemed to guess Lu Chen's thoughts again. This man must have seen her realm breakthrough and thought that she is now a better war weapon. Although she felt a little uncomfortable, the Rainbow Empress didn't say much. She then set her sights on her child. At this time, the killing power on Lu Wudi gradually withdrew. After feeling the killing power on the Tianong Empress and Lu Wudi, Lu Chen understood what was going on. Lu Wudi's physique is quite special. Before he was born, he needed the killing power of the Tianong Empress to nurture him. After he was born, as his realm broke through, he fed back the killing power he had absorbed before to his mother through blood connection. Lu Chen looked at Lu Wudi in the arms of the Tianong Empress again, and the smile on his mouth could not be hidden. Although he treated almost every one of his children equally, he would naturally feel a little proud when such an excellent child suddenly appeared. He and the Tianong Empress had similar psychology. Being able to give birth to such an excellent child, no parent would be unhappy. Of course, Lu Chen would not let Lu Wudi take over the Great Xia Dynasty in the future just because of his talent. In other places, strength is respected, but not in the Great Xia Dynasty. The current emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty is Lu Chengfeng, so it can only be him, unless something happens to him one day, or the end of his life comes, then the emperor may be replaced. Lu Chen's principle is that whoever can manage the Great Xia Dynasty well will be the emperor of the dynasty, not whoever is stronger. People with strong strength may not be good at management. For now, Lu Chengfeng has done everything well. Lu Chen has not reviewed the court's report for a long time. He has become more and more confident in Lu Chengfeng. At this time, Lu Chen raised his hand, rubbed his chin, and fell into deep thought. Lu Wudi was born in the realm of quasi-emperor. If he grows up in the future, even if he does not have the intention to seize the position of the emperor, I am afraid that many people will take the initiative to join him and then instigate him to seize the position of the emperor. Of course, this is secondary. When Lu Chengfeng, the current lord of the dynasty, sees that his younger brother was born in the realm of quasi-emperor, he may be a little afraid and have some thoughts in his mind. Lu Chen does not want to see his children killing each other, so it seems that he has to find a way to balance the relationship between the children. However, this is not an easy task. In various dynasties, there are actually many emperors who do not want to see brothers killing each other, but as the old emperor gradually lost control of the court, things like brothers killing each other gradually began to appear. Lu Chen does not know whether he can stay in the Great Xia Dynasty and control the Great Xia Dynasty, so he wants to find a way to balance the relationship between all the children. Thinking of this, Lu Chen smiled. Why should he think about these things now? He is not dead, and the Great Xia Dynasty is still under his control. And with his life as an emperor, he does not know how long he can live. As long as he is there for a day, he can suppress the restless desire for power in some children's hearts. During this period, he can slowly think about what to do. Thinking of this, Lu Chen put his worries aside. After the Zanlong army gained a foothold in the Dongwang dynasty, it immediately continued to expand outward. During this period, several dynasties chose to actively surrender to the Xia Dynasty. Those dynasties that surrendered found that the Dongwang dynasty was fine now, and basically guessed what the Xia Dynasty wanted to do. The Xia Dynasty was probably trying to accumulate the dynasty's luck, so it kept shouting to each dynasty to surrender before attacking it. Since the Xia Dynasty was only for the dynasty's luck, as long as there was no resistance, the Xia Dynasty would not kill people. Although there was news that there was a killing emperor in the Xia Dynasty, even if there was a killing emperor, this killing emperor might be different from the ordinary emperors who proved their way by killing. Moreover, compared with ordinary emperors, the killing emperor was more difficult to provoke. If they did not choose to surrender at the first time and angered the killing emperor of the Xia Dynasty, they might soon be slaughtered by the people of the entire dynasty. U003C ins U003E. Although some of the lords of the dynasties did not want to lose the blessing of the dynasty's luck, they still chose to send envoys to contact the War Dragon army in consideration of their own lives. Soon, some of the weaker dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar region chose to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty. There were also some dynasties that originally planned to fight to the death. When they saw that there were more than 20 emperors in the War Dragon army, they also sent envoys at the speed of light to raise the white flag. Now the number of emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty is no longer comparable to that of the Lingzhou Superstar group. Even the number of emperors in the Tianlu Dynasty is not as many as that of the Great Xia Dynasty. The Great Xia Dynasty has also accumulated more dynasty luck in its rapid expansion, and these dynasty lucks are added to the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty, making their strength even stronger. In this way, the overall strength of the Great Xia Dynasty is also growing rapidly. Soon even Lu Chen felt that his realm was at a bottleneck of breakthrough. The rapid expansion of the Great Xia Dynasty finally made the Tianlu Dynasty nervous. Tianlu Dynasty. Emperor Star, Council Hall. Emperor Tianlu sat on the dragon chair, looking at the projection in the hall, his face extremely serious. The projection in the hall showed the information that the Great Xia Dynasty had destroyed dozens of dynasties, and there was also some news about the War Dragon army. How long has it been since the Great Xia Dynasty destroyed so many dynasties? And where did the Great Xia Dynasty get more than 20 emperors? 20 emperors, what a concept! Even the Tianlu Dynasty does not have so many emperors. The dynasties in the Central Star region may not have so many emperors in the open. Of course, there are also many emperors who are not very prominent in the internal forces of those dynasties in the Central Star region. But there are not many dynasties in the entire universe that can make 20 emperors act at the same time. Like those larger dynasties, although there are many forces with many emperors within the dynasty, take the Shenyu dynasty as an example, there are many emperors in the superpower of the Shenyu dynasty. But these emperors belong to other forces within the dynasty. Although they accept the rule of the Shenyu dynasty, they do not directly listen to the orders of the royal family. There are many forces that obey the Daxia dynasty on the surface, but in fact they only speak but do not work. So the Shenyu dynasty can mobilize only a dozen emperors. U003C, INS, U003E. Chapter 1164. The Tianlu dynasty dispatches troops. The Shenyu dynasty can only dispatch a dozen emperors at the same time, but the Daxia dynasty can dispatch 20 emperors at once. Could it be that the Daxia dynasty is even stronger than the Shenyu dynasty? Thinking of this possibility, Emperor Tianlu's face became even uglier, and the emperors in the hall were silent. They also had a strong sense of crisis. That's 20 emperors. Even if those emperors are only at the first level, this also represents the strength of the Daxia dynasty. A dynasty that can cultivate 20 emperors may have more powerful people behind it. This just corresponds to the rumors about the Emperor of Heaven, so Emperor Tianlu has always felt a little uneasy recently. Emperor Tianlu was silent for a while, then looked at the emperors in the hall and said, "Tell me, what do you think?" One of the emperors immediately said, "Even the Shenyu dynasty can only dispatch a dozen emperors at a time. How could the Daxia dynasty, a new dynasty that was established not long ago, have so many emperors? This is probably a trick used by the Daxia dynasty." After hearing the words of this emperor, the other emperors in the hall felt that there was some truth. If the Daxia dynasty was really so powerful, why didn't they launch a counterattack when the Shenyu dynasty attacked? Maybe the Daxia dynasty has some formation that can create illusions. After all, the Daxia dynasty can come up with a formation that can resist the attack of the 9-layer emperor. It is not impossible to come up with an illusion formation that can make the emperor unable to distinguish the real one. Emperor Tianlu did not speak at this time. He fell into deep thought. In fact, he also thought at first that this was not a trick. But for some reason, everything that happened recently was too abnormal, which made him smell a sense of crisis. If it was just a trick, it would be nothing, but what if it was true? After all, many dynasties had seen the army of the Great Xia Dynasty, and those dynasties had indeed seen more than 20 emperors. Emperor Tianlu thought to himself, could it be that the rumors at the beginning were actually true? Is there really a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty? That emperor may have mastered some method that can quickly improve people's realm and strength, so he created so many emperors. According to the news sent back, most of the emperors are in the first realm, and their aura is not particularly stable. In other words, these emperors are likely to have broken through recently. If this is true, it will be troublesome. They have not seen the heavenly emperor, and they don't know what kind of ability the heavenly emperor has. If the heavenly emperor really can mass-produce emperors and has some other means, then the entire Lingzhou superstar region will be occupied by the Great Xia Dynasty sooner or later. It seems that there is no more hesitation. Even if there is a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty, the strength of that heavenly emperor has not yet fully recovered. They may kill the other party by taking this opportunity. Thinking of this, Emperor Tianlu said directly, "Send the order, send troops immediately." The army of the Tianlu dynasty had already assembled, and they had confirmed that Lu Chen was in the Zonlong army. Whether it was the Emperor Shafa or the Emperor Tian behind the Xia dynasty, this battle was inevitable. In this case, they should join forces with other dynasties as soon as possible. If they send troops too late, when the Xia dynasty has annexed other dynasties and accumulated a lot of dynasty luck, it may not be so easy for them to deal with the Xia dynasty. It is better to be cautious when dealing with the Emperor Shafa. After hearing the words of Emperor Tianlu, the emperors in the hall said in unison, "Yes." Soon, the news of the Tianlu dynasty's dispatch of troops spread to other dynasties. After hearing that the Tianlu dynasty could not sit still, the Lingyun dynasty, the Dongyang dynasty, and the Zhengyang dynasty all sent envoys to the Tianlu dynasty to discuss the matter of alliance. At the beginning, the three dynasties were more concerned about the affairs of the Great Xia dynasty, especially after seeing that the Great Xia dynasty had annexed so many dynasties in such a short time. The three dynasties could not sit still. Today, the Great Xia dynasty has a larger ruling area in the Lingzhou superstar region than any other dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar region. It is not an exaggeration to call the Great Xia dynasty the first dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar region. At this moment, in the endless void, hundreds of immortal boats are floating, and in front of the immortal boats, three emperors are gathered together, seemingly discussing something. These three people are the current dynasty masters of the Zhengyang dynasty, the Lingyun dynasty, and the Dongyang dynasty. They have already completed the alliance and are ready to launch an attack on the Great Xia dynasty. At this time, Emperor Dongyang said, "Emperor Tianlu finally chose to send troops. He finally couldn't sit still. I thought he really planned to wait until the Great Xia dynasty attacked his dynasty before he would send troops." Earlier, when the Great Xia dynasty annexed the second dynasty, Emperor Dongyang had sent an envoy to find Emperor Tianlu. As a result, Emperor Tianlu said that they had sent people to keep an eye on the Great Xia dynasty. That being said, the Great Xia dynasty showed no signs of sending troops. As the Great Xia dynasty annexed more and more dynasties, Dongyang, Lingyun, and Zhengyang quickly formed an alliance. Although these three dynasties were considered to be dynasties with some strength in the universe, they were all very worried about the initial rumors about the Emperor of Heaven. Especially after seeing the terrifying speed of the Great Xia dynasty's advancement, they became more and more suspicious that there was really a heavenly emperor behind Lu Chen. So the three great dynasties quickly joined forces to send troops. They planned to eliminate the so-called heavenly emperor before he grew up. After Emperor Dongyang finished speaking, Emperor Lingyun also spoke up. "I think he might have been ready to send troops a long time ago. He has not made any move just to watch our three dynasties consume in front, and he also took this opportunity to judge the strength of the Great Xia dynasty." Emperor Zhengyang sneered, "It's time, he still wants to do the mantis stalks the cicada while the oriole is behind. He doesn't really think that after the Great Xia dynasty destroys our three dynasties, his dynasty can deal with the Great Xia dynasty, right? Now the Great Xia dynasty has annexed dozens of dynasties in the Lingzhou superstar region group. The dynasty's luck is already very strong, and their overall strength has basically surpassed the Tianlu dynasty. More importantly, the barrier of the Great Xia dynasty is also expanding with the expansion of the Great Xia dynasty. What makes people headache is not necessarily a heavenly emperor who has not recovered his strength. What really makes the three dynasties headache now is the barrier created by the fairy umbrella. Wherever the Great Xia Dynasty expanded, the fairy umbrella's barrier would expand there. In this way, no matter what kind of setbacks the Great Xia Dynasty's army encountered, they would be able to evacuate to that barrier at the first opportunity, and then others would have no way to deal with them. End of this chapter. Chapter 1165. As long as Lu Chen is dealt with, all crises can be resolved. The solidity of the Great Xia Dynasty's barrier has been verified by the two ninth-level emperors of the Shenyu dynasty. Even if the three dynasties join forces, there is a high probability that it will be impossible to break this barrier. Therefore, the three major dynasties are very worried that once the Xia dynasty discovers something bad, especially the leader of the dynasty, if he directly escapes back to the Xia dynasty's barrier, then they can only watch. As soon as the Great Xia dynasty's barrier was mentioned, the three great emperors fell silent. For now, they had no better solution except driving the Great Xia dynasty back to the barrier. It's almost impossible to get rid of it once and for all. At this moment, Emperor Lingyun suddenly thought of something. The head of the Great Xia dynasty seems to be called Lu Chen, right? He should be the one who controls the formation of the Great Xia dynasty. He seems to be in the army of the Great Xia dynasty. If we can find his location and get rid of him, without the people who maintain this formation, is it possible that the formation of the Great Xia dynasty will not be attacked? Self-destructive. Emperor Dongyang said, we can't say for sure. Maybe this formation doesn't need anyone to control it all the time. Even if we get rid of Lu Chen, this formation will probably always exist. Emperor Lingyun said, whether this formation continues to exist or not, that Lu Chen may be the so-called Emperor of Heaven in the Great Xia dynasty who has not grown up. As long as he dies, there will no longer be so many people around him. The Great Emperor, the entire Great Xia dynasty naturally fell apart. Listening to what Emperor Lingyun said, both Emperor Dongyang and Emperor Zhengyang felt that it made sense. If Lu Chen was really the so-called Emperor of Heaven, then after Lu Chen died, even if the formations of the Xia dynasty were still there, some Xia the people from the imperial dynasty fled back, and there will still be no threat from now on. Moreover, this formation is very special. No one knows what power is relied on to maintain this formation. If the Emperor of Heaven of the Great Xia dynasty dies, the fortune of the Great Xia dynasty will inevitably decline to the extreme. At that time, this formation will not be able to say it will also dissipate. Emperor Zhengyang said at this time, it's just. How can we, Xing'e, judge that Lu Chen is the so-called Emperor of Heaven in the Great Xia dynasty? What if the Emperor of Heaven they are talking about is someone else? The three of them fell into deep thought again. This was indeed a problem. If they just killed a dynasty leader who had withdrawn, but did not solve the core figure who caused all this, then they would still face another invasion from the Great Xia dynasty in the future. After a while, Emperor Lingyun said, forget it, don't think so much. Regardless of whether he is the Emperor of Heaven or not, this Lu Chen must die. He proved his way by killing. For this reason alone, we cannot let him die. Grow up. Anyway, they couldn't tell whether Lu Chen was the Emperor of Heaven, so they might as well stop thinking about it. When they got rid of Lu Chen, they would know whether Lu Chen was the so-called Emperor of Heaven. Emperor Dongyang and Emperor Zhengyang thought for a while and felt that what Emperor Lingyun said was true. What should they do if they consider this? War between the two sides is inevitable anyway, so they might as well get rid of Lu Chen first and then see if it is the Emperor of Heaven. Just when the three of them were not ready to continue this topic, a quasi-emperor suddenly came to Emperor Lingyun and said, Your Majesty, there is new information. Emperor Lingyun didn't hesitate at all. He raised his hand directly, and the jade slip in the quasi-emperor's hand emitted golden light. The golden light directly left a projection in the void of the universe. What was reflected in the projection was some important information sent back by spies from the Lingyun dynasty when they were lurking in the dynasties that had been destroyed by the Great Xia dynasty. The intelligence mentioned that no matter which dynasty the emperor was, after returning to the Great Xia dynasty, he would address Lu Chen as His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. Seeing this news, the three great emperors looked at each other. Is it possible that Lu Chen is really the Emperor of Heaven who has not yet grown up? But wasn't he the son of Emperor Shenwu in the first place? Emperor Lingyun was silent for a moment and then said, perhaps he just reincarnated into the Shenyu dynasty, and now he has restored the memory of when he was the Emperor of Heaven. Emperor Dongyang and Emperor Zhengyang frowned slightly, but soon their brows relaxed again, and a smile appeared on their faces. They were just worried that the rumored emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty would always hide in the Great Xia Dynasty's barrier and dare not come out. If the Emperor of Heaven doesn't come out, there's nothing they can do against him. But since Lu Chen is the Emperor of Heaven, it's easy to handle. Now they only need to think about how to fight to surround Lu Chen and prevent him from escaping. Emperor Lingyun thought for a moment and continued, it seems that it is safer to win over the Tianlu dynasty. The three great emperors are all in the 7th level, which is not very common in the universe, but no one can say whether Lu Chen has any special treasures or special methods in his hands. It is relatively safer to have one more 9th level emperor. Although the 9th level emperor Tianlu is not as powerful as other 9th level emperors in the universe, there is still no problem in crushing the emperors below the 9th level. When the 4 dynasties unite, Lu Chen cannot fly without wings. After Emperor Lingyun finished speaking, Emperor Dongyang immediately used his spiritual sense to sense the situation on the clone's side. His clone was among the envoys he sent to visit the Tianlu dynasty. Now his clone has arrived at Tianlu dynasty and is discussing the alliance with Emperor Tianlu. At this moment, Tianlu dynasty, Yizheng Hall. In the hall, the envoys of the 3 dynasties were all there, and Emperor Tianlu's eyes suddenly fell on the envoys of the Dongyang dynasty. Emperor Tianlu laughed and said, Dongyang, when did you like to hide your head and show your tail? Why did you send a clone to lurk in the envoy team? Seeing that Emperor Tianlu had recognized him, Emperor Dongyang's clone simply stopped pretending and stood up directly. Sure enough, I can't hide it from you. Emperor Dongyang's clone originally used a secret method to block the emperor's perception of the soul, but it was not completely undetectable. That is, once the main body used the consciousness to connect the clone, the secret method would be temporarily ineffective, so he would be exposed. Just now, Emperor Dongyang's main body did not know that his clone was in the hall, but he used the consciousness to explore, and the clone was exposed. But it was exposed, so he could discuss the alliance with Emperor Tianlu directly. Emperor Tianlu said, can't your alliance of 3 dynasties solve a wild dynasty on the edge of the universe? Why are you coming to my alliance? Emperor Dongyang said directly, Tianlu, don't pretend. You have already sent out a large army, proving that you have also discovered the threat of the Great Xia Dynasty. In addition, I have a news to tell you at this opportunity. Emperor Tianlu asked curiously, what news? Emperor Dongyang replied, according to the intelligence our people have found, that Lu Chen is very likely the so-called heavenly emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty. So as long as Lu Chen is solved, all crises can be resolved. End of this chapter. Chapter 1166 I Haven and Amp, number 039, T seen so many emperors gathered together for a long time. After hearing what Emperor Dongyang said, Emperor Tianlu frowned slightly. Is Lu Chen the rumored emperor of heaven? He did hear some news about this, but Emperor Tianlu never confirmed the truth of the news. In his opinion, even if there really was an emperor of heaven in the Great Xia Dynasty, it was unlikely that the Emperor of Heaven would appear outside the Great Xia Dynasty's barrier before he grew up. Of course, this was just Emperor Tianlu's guess. After Emperor Tianlu came to his senses, he calmed down his emotions and asked, how did you confirm that he was the Emperor of Heaven? Emperor Dongyang replied, the title of Emperor of Heaven involves such a huge cause and effect that not everyone can bear it. Those emperors who surrendered to the Great Xia Dynasty all called Lu Chen the Emperor of Heaven. If he is not the Emperor of Heaven, then who is the Emperor of Heaven? After hearing what Emperor Dongyang said, Emperor Tianlu suddenly realized, yes, how could he forget this? If anyone pretends to be the Emperor of Heaven, he is likely to be punished by the laws of the origin of the universe. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Since Lu Chen has always been called the Emperor of Shatian by others and has not been punished by the laws of the origin of the universe, it proves that Lu Chen is very likely the Emperor of Heaven. If it is really him, as long as Lu Chen is eliminated while he is still outside the barrier, the series of crises that have occurred in the Lingzhou Superstar region group recently will also be resolved. Thinking of this, Emperor Tianlu was about to say something, only to hear Emperor Dongyang speak first. I believe Tianlu, you should know what to do next. As long as our four dynasties alliance eliminate Lu Chen, then everything caused by Lu Chen will disappear, and it is even possible that the formation of the Great Xia Dynasty will disappear because of Lu Chen's death. Then we can enter the Great Xia Dynasty and look for the treasures left by the Emperor of Heaven. Hearing the words, treasures left by the Emperor of Heaven, Emperor Tianlu's eyes lit up instantly. The formation of the Great Xia Dynasty was already tempting enough. If it was really the treasure of the Emperor of Heaven, how precious it would be. Emperor Tianlu has been stuck in the 9th level of the Great Emperor for many years, and has never had the opportunity to take that step. He has been looking for a way, but no matter what method he uses, he can't touch the feeling of taking that step. This made Emperor Tianlu no longer have any hope of breaking through to the Heavenly Emperor realm. But if he could get some things left by the Emperor of Heaven, he might be able to find out the secret of breaking through the Emperor of Heaven. When he thought of this, Emperor Tianlu's breathing became rapid. Emperor Dongyang naturally saw the greed in Emperor Tianlu's eyes, and then asked, I wonder what you think. Emperor Tianlu did not say how to distribute the Great Xia Dynasty in the future, and he immediately agreed, okay, this emperor can go to war with you. Emperor Tianlu thought to himself that he was in the 9th level, and there were only a few emperors in the 7th and 8th levels in the Lingzhou Superstar domain group. If the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty really disappeared, when they found the treasure of the Emperor of Heaven, how to distribute it was still up to him, the Emperor of the 9th level, so he was not interested in discussing how to distribute the treasure now, he just wanted to get rid of Lu Chen quickly. Seeing that Emperor Tianlu agreed, Emperor Dongyang's mouth slightly raised, and then his main body quickly told the news to Emperor Lingyun and the others. In the void, Emperor Lingyun said at this time, the delegation should have arrived at the Tianlu dynasty. I don't know what Emperor Tianlu is planning now. After Emperor Lingyun finished speaking, he heard Emperor Dongyang say, Emperor Tianlu has agreed to the alliance. Hearing Emperor Dongyang's words, Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang asked in unison, is this true? Emperor Dongyang said, really, he will come here in person soon. Hearing this, Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang looked at each other, and then both smiled. Emperor Zhengyang said, since even Tianlu is here, there should be no problem. Speaking of this, Emperor Zhengyang sent a message to a first-level emperor in the distance, asking him to quickly go to the front line to investigate the current situation of the Great Xia Dynasty. Emperor Tianlu will be here soon, so Lu Chen must not run away at this time. Lingwu Dynasty, Tianyu Star Region. In the void, at a glance, there were all immortal boats emitting colorful lights. The defense formations of those immortal boats were fully opened, and the people on the immortal boats looked serious, looking straight into the distance. On the opposite side of these immortal boats, there were huge starships, and the formations on the starships were all opened, and it seemed that they were ready to attack. At this time, in front of the immortal boats, there were about 30 emperors. These emperors were not emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty, but emperors of various dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar region. Now they have more than a dozen dynasties united, and they don't believe that more than a dozen dynasties united can't resist the attack of the Great Xia Dynasty. As a person who united the major dynasties, Emperor Lingwu stood up and said to the emperors present, even if there is a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty, he has not grown up, and we have nothing to fear. Once we really surrender, without the blessing of the dynasty's luck, our realm will drop sharply, and we will definitely not be able to survive the epical catastrophe. So no matter what, we can't give in. At this time, a great emperor said, strange, why haven't the immortal ships of the Great Xia Dynasty launched an attack yet? It has been 2 months since the two armies met. The immortal ships, starships, of both sides have opened the formation, but neither side has attacked, as if waiting for the other to make a move. The Lingwu dynasty laughed. It's not obvious what they are thinking. This is a common trick of the Great Xia Dynasty. First, use a large number of immortal ships to scare other dynasties, and then send out the emperors of their dynasty. When those dynasties see that the Great Xia Dynasty has so many emperors, they simply surrender directly. We can't be scared by the Great Xia Dynasty. Hearing the words of the Lingwu emperor, the other emperors thought about it. They recalled the news they had recently received. It seems that the Great Xia Dynasty has really been doing this all the time. And the effect is very good. Dozens of dynasties have chosen to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty. At the same time, the Great Xia Dynasty fleet, Thunder Emperor and Ziji Emperor and other emperors sat in the conference room of the main starship, looking at the projection on the starship screen. The projection showed the emperors of the dozen dynasties. Emperor Ziji smiled and said, "I haven't seen so many emperors gathered together for a long time. Usually, a dynasty can only mobilize a dozen emperors. Now, with the emperors on the opposite side and the emperors on the side of the Xia dynasty, the number of emperors has exceeded 50. This is extremely rare in the outer realm." Emperor Lei Ting said, "Yes, I remember the last time I saw 50 emperors gathered together was in the outer realm." Emperor Ziji said, "Looking at these people, they may not intend to surrender." End of this chapter. Chapter 1167 The Arrival of the Rainbow Queen. The starships of the Great Xia Dynasty have been staying in the Tianyu Star territory for more than 2 months, and many people have been sent to persuade them to surrender, but those dynasties are still unmoved, and all their immortal boat formations have been activated. Taiwan Novel Network. This made it clear that they would fight to the death with the Zonlong army of the Great Xia Dynasty. But even so, the Thunder Emperor and the others still did not take action easily, because they knew that Lu Chen valued the luck of the dynasties more. If they launched an attack and destroyed those dynasties, they would lose a lot of the luck of the dynasties. They are all waiting for orders from Emperor Xia, but Emperor Xia has been doing nothing in the past 2 months and has not given them orders. It seems that he has gone into seclusion. The Thunder Emperor said at this time, "Send another person to persuade them to surrender. If you really don't surrender, we will take the initiative to ask your majesty to see if you want to fight." As soon as the Thunder Emperor finished speaking, Lu Chen's clone appeared in the conference hall. Seeing Lu Chen's clone, all the emperors in the conference room stood up and saluted Lu Chen in unison. "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen said, and waved his hand downward, indicating that they all should sit down. Lu Chen then said, "Empress Tianong has broken through to the 6th level of the Great Emperor. You first send people to persuade them to surrender. Tell them that if they don't surrender, what will greet them will be a one-sided massacre." Hearing this, everyone present was stunned for a moment. Most of the emperors present had surrendered before the Shenyu dynasty, and many of them had fought with Emperor Shenwu. Everyone knows very well how powerful an emperor who proves his way by killing will be after he reaches the 6th level. After hearing Lu Chen's order, the Thunder Emperor did not hesitate at all and directly ordered an emperor to go to the opponent's ferry boat again to persuade him to surrender. Soon, Emperor Haiquan, who was sent by Emperor Thunder to persuade them to surrender, arrived in front of the ferry boats of more than a dozen dynasties. "The Emperor of Heaven has issued an order, ordering you to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty immediately, otherwise the chickens and dogs will not be left behind." Hearing Emperor Haiquan's words, Emperor Lingwu laughed, and then said directly, "It's a fool's errand to want us to surrender. If you, the Great Xia Dynasty, are really so powerful, just fight here. I would like to see if you have the ability to break through our blockade." Hearing this, Emperor Haiquan sighed, and then said, "I have brought my words to you. You can take care of yourself. I hope you won't regret it later." Speaking of this, Emperor Haiquan suddenly thought of something. Emperor Xia's purpose was to bring good fortune to the dynasty, and he asked him to persuade him to surrender again, proving that Emperor Xia actually didn't want to go on a killing spree. So Emperor Haiquan added, "Oh, by the way, let me tell you some bad news. A 6th-level emperor from the Great Xia Dynasty who is mainly responsible for killing will come here soon. If you still choose to resist before she arrives, then don't blame the Xia Dynasty for going on a killing spree. As soon as these words came out, the emperors on Emperor Lingwu's side instantly started talking. One of the emperors said worriedly, 6th level. Real or fake? We shouldn't be the main opponent to kill the emperor in the 6th level, right? Another emperor said, I heard that when Emperor Shenwu was in the 6th level, no emperor in the outer realm dared to provoke him. Even some emperors in the 9th level had to take a detour when they saw him. For a time, the crowd fell into commotion. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. It's over, it's over. The Great Xia Dynasty actually still has the killing emperor of the 6th level. How come there are so many great emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty who prove their virtue by killing? We'd better surrender directly. This is troublesome. The highest realm we have here is only the 6th level, and we don't prove it by killing. Together, we are no match for the 6th level to kill the emperor. Hearing the discussions between the emperors behind him, Emperor Lingwu's face darkened. After an unknown amount of time, Emperor Lingwu suddenly shouted, that's enough. When Emperor Lingwu came down, the emperors who were discussing fell silent in an instant. After the crowd was completely quiet, Emperor Lingwu said, you also believe what the enemy said? He said that there is a killing emperor in the 6th level. There must be a killing emperor in the 6th level. How ridiculous. Don't you see that he is trying to divide us? If there really is a 6th level killing emperor, how could they wait until now and not launch an attack? In my opinion, they are bluffing. As soon as these words came out, the emperor present instantly awakened. A great emperor said, yes, if they really have a 6th level killing emperor, they must have taken action long ago. They have persuaded them to surrender so many times, but they have not seen them let the 6th level killing emperor come out. Quote. Seeing the reactions of those emperors, Emperor Haikuan shook his head helplessly. This was none of his business. He had already brought the words and even said a few more words. In the end, some people still did not intend to surrender. Emperor Haikuan was about to leave. Suddenly, the appearance of Emperor Lingwu appeared in the void. Since you are here, don't leave. Emperor Lingwu no longer planned to wait any longer. He could feel that some emperors in the crowd were already starting to have their thoughts. He didn't know if the Great Xia Dynasty had a 6th level killing emperor, but even if there wasn't, there would definitely be some emperors on their side who couldn't stand the pressure and wanted to defect to the Great Xia Dynasty. So he had to take the initiative to attack and provoke a war between the two sides as soon as possible to prevent someone on their side from being unable to stand the pressure and choosing to rebel. The moment the Lingwu Emperor's Dharma image appeared, a huge golden bell appeared in the void, and the Lingwu Emperor shouted, soul-breaking bell. Seeing this soul-breaking bell, Emperor Haikuan frowned, but he was not too worried about being injured or having any trouble. After all, Emperor Sha Tian was not far away, and if he really had any trouble, Emperor Sha Tian would definitely take action. Even if Emperor Tian didn't take action, Emperor Lei Ting and Emperor Ziji would take action. Emperor Haikuan could feel that this soul-breaking bell posed a huge threat to him. Just as he was about to show his Dharma image and prepare to fight Emperor Lingwu, a bloody light suddenly flew over from a distance. The blood light suddenly hit the soul-breaking bell of Emperor Lingwu, and the soul-breaking bell also broke instantly at this moment. But this is not the end yet. The next moment, a long sword wrapped in a strong killing force came out from the void. This sword appeared directly behind Emperor Lingwu. Before Emperor Lingwu even had time to react, he was pierced directly by this sword. Fortunately, Emperor Lingwu was at the 6th level of the Great Emperor, and did not fall immediately. After he reacted, he quickly retracted his Dharma image and teleported to the distant void. Who is it? After seeing the injuries on Emperor Lingwu's body, the emperors present immediately became alert. End of this chapter. Chapter 1168. Let her have fun today. Emperor Lingwu tried hard to stabilize the wounds on his body. He stared at the starship of Zonlong army in the distance. He could clearly feel the killing power remaining on his wound. The killing power would directly cut off the vitality of the cells in the body. If it weren't for the fact that the sword just didn't hurt his vitals, I'm afraid he would have died by now. Fallen. How terrible. Emperor Lingwu still feels lingering fear. However, after reacting, Emperor Lingwu was even more angry. A murderous emperor actually engaged in sneak attacks. He was completely shameless. Emperor Lingwu immediately said, "The Great Xia Dynasty has shown its fangs. Colleagues, what follows will be a life and death battle. We are determined not to take a step back." While speaking, Emperor Lingwu once again released a Dharma form, making a look as if he was ready to die. Immediately afterwards, other great emperors also started to use their techniques. However, at this moment, a woman in red suddenly cut through the void and walked out of the space. The woman in red floated in front of Emperor Lingwu and others, and glanced indifferently at the emperor present and the immortal boats behind them. Seeing the thick evil aura emanating from the woman in red in front of him, every emperor present felt a chill down his spine. How many monks have been slaughtered to have such a strong evil aura on their bodies? Although Emperor Haikuan did not know Empress Tianong, when he felt the killing power in her body, he knew that the killing emperor of the 6th level mentioned by Emperor Xia was here, so he directly said, "Junior, please retire, and I will leave this place to you." Senior. After the words fell, Emperor Haikuan ran away without any hesitation. Not to mention the enemy, even Emperor Haikuan, one of his own, was frightened by the evil aura of Empress Tianong. Now he just wanted to go back and recover. As soon as Emperor Haikuan left, countless emperor swords appeared in the void around Empress Tianong, and the killing power of her body was completely released. For a time, the nearby void was enveloped by the killing power, and the world turned blood red. Empress Tianong didn't say any nonsense and took action directly. She knew very well that Lu Chen and she had different positions. What Lu Chen wanted was the luck of the dynasty, while what she wanted was killing. If she hesitates like before, then these emperors are likely to choose to surrender. At that time, Lu Chen will prevent her from taking action against these people like he did several times before, so he must kill these people before they surrender. Dispose of them all. After feeling the killing power of Empress Tianong, all the emperors on Emperor Lingwu's side trembled. It was pure killing power, and they also discovered that the level of this killing emperor was not inferior to that of Lingwu. Emperor Wu, that is to say, there is no great emperor present who is the opponent of this great emperor. If they continued to fight, they would probably die. For a while, some emperors began to retreat. However, before they could surrender, Emperor Lingwu shouted loudly, "Don't be afraid, form a formation immediately." When they were in the alliance, they had considered how they would deal with a particularly powerful person. After hearing what Emperor Lingwu said, the emperors reacted, yes, how could they forget the formation they had set at the beginning? They now have more than 20 emperors. If the other emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty do not take action, they may not be able to get rid of the murderous emperor in front of them. Immediately, the emperors dispersed, and the next moment, a huge black formation appeared in the void, and the Rainbow Empress was located in the center of this formation. Countless souls with black energy emerged from the black array, and the strength of these souls was almost as good as the preparations. Emperor Lingwu shouted loudly at this time, "Ghost Heart Explosion Formation. Get up." The moment the formation was formed, countless souls poured out from the formation. In just a moment, these souls completely covered the area where Empress Tianong was. Emperor Lingwu looked expectantly at the position of Empress Tianong. He smiled and said, "This is a formation that even the 8th level emperor can't break. You will definitely perish here today." Empress Tianong looked at the souls flying towards her indifferently, without any emotion on her face. The next moment, the evil energy on her body suddenly surged, and the blood-colored evil energy took less than a moment to directly kill all the souls that tried to get close to her. Disperse. After dispersing those souls, the evil spirit on Empress Tianong still did not stop releasing, and the blood-colored evil energy spread throughout the nearby star field in a very short period of time. Immediately afterwards, the whole world seemed to have turned into hell, with mountains of corpses and seas of blood everywhere, and bones everywhere. Seeing this scene, the faces of some emperors who had been to the outer realm suddenly turned pale. They had obviously recognized that this was the killing area where the emperor was killed. In the past, when the Shenwu Emperor went on a killing spree in the Outer Lands, he often launched killing fields. But almost all emperors who have been to the Outer Lands have heard of the killing fields. Rumor has it that as long as one enters the killing field, it is almost impossible to survive. Emperor Lingwu's face turned pale at this time, but he still did not give up. He shouted again, "She is only one person, let's not be afraid." Hearing Emperor Lingwu's voice, the emperors present recovered from their panic. Yes, now the opponent only has this one great emperor to take action. They have used formations here, and there are more than 20 great emperors. They still don't believe that so many great emperors are not the opponent to kill this great emperor. Thinking of this, the emperors on the side of Emperor Lingwu regained their confidence, and then continued to activate the ghostly heart explosion formation, trying to use it to destroy the killing field of Empress Tianong. At this time, in the meeting room of the main starship of the War Dragon Army, the emperors looked at the huge bloody field outside, and they all felt a little scared. It was worthy of the Emperor of killing. When Emperor Shenwu was alive, he often launched the killing field directly without a word, and then killed crazily, especially in the outer domain. Emperor Ziji turned his head and looked at Lu Chen, who was sitting in the main seat above. "Your Majesty, don't we have to take action?" Although they also knew that the Emperor of Killing was very powerful, there was only one person after all, and the opponent also used a special formation, which seemed to be easy to affect people's minds. The Emperor of Killing himself was more murderous and a little crazy. If the formation affected his soul, I am afraid that some unpredictable things would happen. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then said, "Not for now, she has been holding back for so many years, let her have her fun today." Lu Chen did not plan to stop Empress Tianong today, just take this opportunity to deter those dynasties that still have hope. End of this chapter. Chapter 1169. The Rainbow Queen goes on a killing spree. When the Rainbow Empress saw that the emperors were still madly activating the ghostly heart explosion formation, she stopped holding back and immediately mobilized the Empress sword. In an instant, countless Empress sword clones were wrapped in killing power and shot at the emperors. Seeing the Empress swords flying over, the Lingwu Emperor gritted his teeth and used all his strength to activate the ghostly heart explosion formation. For a moment, countless souls poured out from the array plate, forming a soul tide. These souls rushed madly towards the position of the Rainbow Empress, trying to engulf her. However, when the clones of the Empress sword rushed towards those souls with killing power, those souls instantly disappeared. In less than a quarter of an hour, the soul tide in the ghostly heart explosion formation disappeared. Seeing this scene, the emperors in the killing field became even paler. Is this the killing power? They have used all their strength, but they still can't trap this killing emperor. Is it really that powerful to prove the truth by killing? It's over now. At this time, a great emperor could not bear the fear in his heart, and he directly forced himself out of the formation, and said in a voice transmission, "I am willing to surrender to Daxia." Puff! Before the great emperor who wanted to surrender finished speaking, a sword of the imperial daughter swept across his neck with the power of killing. One sword, one great emperor. Seeing this scene, the remaining great emperors were completely panicked. They couldn't beat her, and now they couldn't surrender. At this time, a great emperor said, "Don't be afraid, let's fight her. She is alone, even if there is no ghost heart bursting formation, I don't believe she can stop the attack of so many of us." After hearing the encouragement of this great emperor, all the great emperors began to use magic, and for a time, all kinds of magic flew all over the sky in the killing field. However, from beginning to end, the expression on the face of the Tianong female emperor was very indifferent, and she didn't take these people seriously at all. At this time, the Rainbow Queen raised her hand, and a more violent killing force surged from her fingertips. Then, all the clones of the imperial sword gathered together to form a larger imperial sword. This imperial sword stabbed directly at the emperors who attacked the Rainbow Queen. Seeing this giant sword, some emperors subconsciously wanted to dodge, but found that their bodies had been locked and they could not move at all. They could only watch the giant sword pierce their bodies and souls. This time, one sword no longer killed only one emperor. The giant sword of the Rainbow Queen stabbed over, and any emperor who came into contact with this giant sword was directly annihilated. After seeing the terrifying power of the imperial sword, the remaining emperors were frightened and fled in a hurry. They had lost the courage to fight the Rainbow Queen head-on. Instead of fighting this crazy woman to death, it is better to think of a way to break this killing field. In this situation, fighting this crazy woman head-on will only lead to death. If they can break the killing field, they may be able to escape. Soon, the remaining emperors joined forces again, but this time they were not fighting against the Tiannong Queen, but to escape from the killing field. In the killing field, their strength was suppressed too much, and the most important thing was that once they were locked by the crazy woman, they had almost no chance of escape. At this time, an emperor said to Emperor Lingwu, "Emperor Lingwu, you are the only emperor in the 6th level among us, please help us delay time." Hearing this, Emperor Lingwu cursed, "You have a good plan, let this emperor die, and help you escape." An emperor jumped out and said, "If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have united to fight against the Great Xia Dynasty. What's wrong with you helping us delay time now?" As soon as the emperor finished speaking, other emperors also stood up to accuse Emperor Lingwu. "That's right, I wanted to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty just now. It was because of your instigation that we had to confront the Great Xia Dynasty head-on. You are the only emperor of the 6th level here. If you don't help us delay time, who will delay time? Don't be so selfish." Hearing the words of these emperors, Emperor Lingwu laughed angrily. These cowardly guys were very active when they united with them, but now they put all the blame on him. Just when these emperors were fighting among themselves, the giant sword in the distance stabbed directly at them. Seeing this scene, they quickly dispersed and tried to avoid the giant sword. Some people escaped at the first time, while others were locked tightly by the killing field. Several emperors were suspended in the air, and their bodies could not move no matter how they struggled. The emperors who were locked in terror kept begging for mercy, "I am willing to surrender. Puff, I want to join Daxia. Puff." No matter which emperor it was, as long as he wanted to surrender to the Daxia dynasty, he was killed by the Tiannong Empress before he could even say anything. What the Tiannong Empress feared most now was that after these people surrendered, Lu Chen would stop her again, so whoever wanted to surrender would die first. Seeing that the Tiannong Empress had already killed people with bloodshot eyes, the remaining emperors gathered together again. "Quick, find a way to break the killing field," everyone attacked together. Then the remaining emperors attacked together, bombarding the killing field with various spells, trying to break the killing field and escape. However, as the Tiannong Empress began to kill, her strength was constantly increasing. At the beginning, if these people attacked together, it was indeed possible to affect the killing field. But it was too late now. The Rainbow Queen had killed several emperors. The evil spirit on her body became heavier and heavier, and the killing power became stronger and stronger. Now, let alone these emperors of the 1st and 2nd levels, even the emperors of the 9th level would not be able to get any benefits in front of her. Seeing those emperors trying to break through the killing field, the Rainbow Queen shouted coldly, and then released all the killing power on her body. For a time, the visible light of the entire killing field became dimmer, and the thick blood-red evil spirit almost covered all the light, and the whole world became darker and darker. At this time, the Rainbow Queen once again activated the Imperial Sword, which turned into countless sword rains and rushed straight to those emperors. Seeing this scene, those emperors were frightened and hurriedly used various means to resist. Just this simple move, several emperors fell on the spot, and the remaining emperors were seriously injured even if they survived by relying on magic weapons. At this time, Emperor Lingwu also regretted it. If he had known that there was a 6th-level Emperor Shafa in the Great Xia Dynasty, he should not have joined forces with these emperors to confront the Great Xia Dynasty head-on. But it was too late to say anything now. This crazy woman obviously wanted to kill them all. Emperor Lingwu sneered, "Since you don't want me to live, let's die together. We are all 6th-level emperors. I don't believe you can resist my soul self-destruction." As soon as the voice fell, Emperor Lingwu's body turned into a stream of light and rushed directly towards Empress Tiannong. When he was about to get close to Empress Tianong, Emperor Lingwu did not hesitate at all and directly chose to self-destruct his soul. Chapter 1170. It seems that we still underestimated the Great Xia Dynasty. Seeing that Emperor Lingwu was going to self-destruct his soul, the remaining emperors were all shocked. The emperor of the 6th level self-destructed, and he self-destructed in the killing field. They didn't even have a chance to escape. Emperor Lingwu wanted to drag all of them down with him. For a while, curses were heard in the killing field. But Emperor Lingwu did not give up self-destructing his soul because of those people's curses. He just wanted to drag everyone to be buried with him. As Emperor Lingwu self-destructed his soul, a terrifying force surged out of his body, as if it was going to sweep the entire killing field, but what no one expected was that after this force exploded, it was quickly forced back to the place where Emperor Lingwu self-destructed. Although Emperor Lingwu self-destructed, he did not cause any harm to anyone in the killing field, and even those emperors were still alive. The killing field has an absolute suppressive effect on other forces. If you self-destruct in the killing field, you will only die, and it is difficult to involve others. The self-destruction of Emperor Lingwu was purely self-destruction, but fortunately, Emperor Lingwu had already self-destructed his soul, so he couldn't know these things, otherwise he would probably die with regrets. After Emperor Lingwu self-destructed, Empress Tianong still had no expression on her face. She looked coldly at the emperors in the distance who were still trying to destroy the killing field. Seeing that Empress Tianong's eyes fell on them again, those emperors frantically urged their own avenue power, and some even burned their souls directly. Even Emperor Lingwu, a 6th-level emperor, did not get any benefits by self-destructing in front of this female devil, let alone them. Empress Tianong raised her hand at this time, and the emperor's sword floating beside her split into countless clones again. Then, the killing power on Empress Tianong gathered again on these clones of the emperor's sword. She hadn't killed so happily for a long time. There were only these last 10 emperors left. She had to get rid of them all at once and couldn't let them surrender. The next moment, the Rainbow Queen raised her jade hand and aimed at the emperors. The killing power on her body, wrapped in the clone of the Empress sword, attacked the emperors again. For a moment, there were wailing and begging for mercy in the killing field, but there was still no expression on the face of the Rainbow Queen. In the meeting room of the main starship of the War Dragon Army, Lu Chen and a group of emperors were still paying attention to the killing field. The killing field was now closed, and no one knew what was going on inside. Only after the killing field was opened, they would know what was going on inside. At this time, the killing field gradually dissipated, and the blood-red evil spirit also continued to retreat. Soon this star field appeared again. However, when the killing field dissipated, only the Rainbow Queen in a red dress was still floating in the void. The area around the Rainbow Queen was full of broken limbs and corpses. After all, it was the flesh of the emperor, and it was not so easy to damage. Although those emperors had died, their corpses still existed. Seeing the corpses of emperors everywhere in a star field, Emperor Leiting and others couldn't help but take a breath. Some of them had followed Emperor Shenwu to the outer domain before, and had seen the scene of Emperor Shenwu killing people, but for some reason, they always felt that Empress Tianong was more terrifying than Emperor Shenwu. In the same realm, when Emperor Shenwu was in the 6th realm, he could fight against 20 emperors at the same time, but it would definitely not end so quickly. Emperor Leiting had seen the scene of Emperor Shenwu's 6th realm killing the field before. When he was in the outer domain, Emperor Shenwu fought with 20 emperors for almost several years before finally killing all those emperors. But the woman in front of him killed all 20 emperors in less than a day. At this time, Emperor Leiting suddenly noticed the emperor's sword floating beside Empress Tianhong, and he asked curiously, "Your Majesty, what is this sword?" Emperor Leiting had never seen a holy-level spiritual weapon, but he could feel from the pressure of the emperor's sword that the level of this sword might have exceeded the heavenly level. Lu Chen said, "Emperor's sword, a holy-level weapon." Hearing this, the emperors in the conference room were shocked. Holy-level weapon. But they soon realized that Emperor Sha Tian could take out a formation to resist the emperor of the 9th level, and it seemed that having a holy-level weapon was nothing. At this time, Lu Chen said, "Okay, it's over, we can wrap it up." Although Lu Chen agreed to let Empress Tianhong take action, he did not want Empress Tianhong to massacre all the civilians of the major dynasties. After those civilians joined the Great Xia Dynasty, they could improve the fortune of the Great Xia Dynasty. After the emperors of those dynasties were gone, they should surrender. At this moment, Empress Tianhong looked at the immortal boats of the major dynasties in the distance, and for a moment, the red light in her eyes became brighter. Then, she took a step forward, and when she was about to reach those immortal boats, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Seeing this figure, Empress Tianhong frowned. She had already guessed what Lu Chen was doing here. Although she was a little reluctant, Empress Tianhong still did not make a move. She just said, "It's useless for you to keep these people." Lu Chen said, "How can it be useless? If they join the Great Xia Dynasty, it will increase the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty." Empress Tianhong glanced at Lu Chen coldly and turned away. She knew that Lu Chen would not let her kill people casually. Never mind, she just killed more than 20 emperors at once, which can be regarded as calming down the killing impulse for some time. As soon as the Tianhong female emperor left, the armies of the major dynasties immediately chose to surrender. Their dynasty masters had been killed, and they were solved by an emperor who proved his truth by killing. If they still couldn't see the situation clearly at this time, they might be greeted by a massacre that swept the entire dynasty. Tianling Star Region. Emperor Lingyun and others were waiting for the arrival of the Tianlu dynasty army in the void. At this time, the spies sent by the three dynasties to inquire about the news appeared beside them at the same time. "Your Majesty, there is a new situation ahead." Emperor Lingyun, Emperor Dongyang, and Emperor Zhengyang looked at each other. The spies sent by the three parties came back at the same time, which means that the news they inquired about is likely to be one thing. Emperor Lingyun did not hesitate, and directly raised his hand and used his spiritual power to open the jade seal on the spy's hand. The next moment, a projection appeared in the void. The next scene played was a 6th-level killer empress who killed 20 emperors in less than a day. After watching the content in the projection, the three emperors fell silent. After an unknown amount of time, Emperor Lingyun said to himself, "It seems that we still underestimated the Great Xia Dynasty." Chapter 1171 Delay. What are you talking about? Emperor Lingyun and his men had always believed that there was only one emperor of killing, Lu Chen, in the Great Xia Dynasty, but now there is another female emperor who has mastered the power of killing. Google search for TWKAN. The key is that this female emperor is actually a 6th-level emperor of killing. A 6th-level emperor of killing can already fight against a 9th-level emperor. They originally thought that with Emperor Tianlu, getting rid of Lu Chen was a done deal, but now there is another 6th-level female emperor of killing. Dealing with one emperor of killing is already troublesome enough, and now there is another one with a higher realm. The difficulty has increased by who knows how much. For a moment, the three of them fell into silence. They didn't know what to do in this situation. The three of them still have self-knowledge. If the opponent is only at the 1st level, even if it is an emperor who has mastered the power of killing, they have a certain degree of confidence. But as for the 6th level, they were completely unsure. The three of them were only at the 7th level. Although they had already touched the threshold of the 8th level, their strength was definitely not comparable to that of the 6th-level emperor who mastered the power of killing. Now the only one who could deal with the 6th-level killing emperor was probably Emperor Tianlu, but whether Emperor Tianlu could finally defeat the empress was still unknown. Just when the three were silent, a voice suddenly came from a distance. "Why, you three look so sad. Do you think that this emperor can't deal with the Great Xia Dynasty?" Hearing this voice, the three looked at the direction where the voice came from at the same time. The person who came was Emperor Tianlu, and behind Emperor Tianlu, there were several emperors. Seeing that Emperor Tianlu had come, Emperor Lingyun said without hesitation, "It's just right that you are here. We just got a new intelligence, you can take a look." As he spoke, Emperor Lingyun activated the previous jade slip again, and the scene of Empress Tianhong fighting against the 20 or so emperors appeared in the void again. Seeing the projection in the void, Emperor Tianlu frowned instantly. For some reason, he always felt that this woman seemed familiar. Not only did this woman look familiar, but the sword floating behind this woman also seemed particularly familiar. Suddenly, Emperor Tianlu seemed to have thought of something, and his face became even uglier. He murmured, "It's her." Seeing Emperor Tianlu's reaction, Emperor Lingyun and others were stunned for a moment, and Emperor Lingyun then asked, "Do you know this female emperor?" Emperor Tianlu had a dark face. "When I was in the outer domain, I was chased by her. I didn't expect her to appear here." Hearing this, everyone was stunned for a moment. Emperor Tianlu was chased by this woman. So, the two still have a grudge. Then this time, won't the new and old grudges be settled together? Emperor Tianlu sneered and said, "I really didn't expect that her realm would fall to the 6th level. It seems that God wants me to avenge this." Emperor Dongyang reminded him, "Even if her realm has fallen, she is still an emperor who proves the way by killing. I heard that the emperor who masters the power of killing can fight across several realms." Emperor Tianlu snorted and said, "So what if she proves the way by killing? I must avenge the pursuit and killing." Seeing that Emperor Tianlu has made up his mind to take revenge, Emperor Lingyun and others are relieved. What they are most afraid of now is that even Emperor Tianlu has given up continuing to resist. If even Emperor Tianlu, who is at the 9th level, has given up continuing to resist the Great Xia Dynasty, then the three of them joining forces will not be of much use. They don't believe that the three of them can deal with a 6th level emperor of killing. Since Emperor Tianlu and the Killing Empress are enemies, it will be much easier. Emperor Lingyun said, "Since everyone is here, let's go. The Great Xia Dynasty may have discovered our movement. If we don't hurry up, Lu Chen may escape back to the protective formation of the Great Xia Dynasty." After Emperor Lingyun finished speaking, Emperor Tianlu did not hesitate at all, and did not say anything more. He led Emperor Tianlu's emperors and dynasty armies directly to the Zonlong army of the Great Xia Dynasty. Lu Chen had already arranged many spies to find out the movement of the major dynasties of the Lingzhou Superstar region. The 4 dynasties of the Tianlu dynasty were the strongest dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar region. If they had any unusual movements, the spies of the Great Xia Dynasty would immediately pass the news to the command starship of the Zonlong army. Zonlong Army, the main command starship. Lu Chen sat on the chair above the conference room, checking the movement of various forces from the Lingzhou Superstar region. At this time, a quasi-emperor appeared in the conference room. "Your Majesty, there are unusual movements in the Tianlu dynasty." As soon as Lu Chen raised his hand, the jade slip used by the quasi-emperor to record information flew into Lu Chen's hand. Lu Chen activated the jade slip, and the content in the jade slip was projected in the air. After reading the content in the jade slip, Lu Chen just smiled faintly. At this moment, Emperor Lei Ting and Emperor Ziji were also beside Lu Chen. They also saw the information on the jade slip. Emperor Ziji said with some concern, "Your Majesty, the 4 dynasties united, I am afraid it will be difficult to deal with." They had already collected almost all the information about the 4 dynasties. Every emperor in the conference room was very clear about the power structure and combat power of each force in the Lingzhou Superstar region. It was nothing for the 4 dynasties to unite. The most troublesome one was Emperor Tianlu of the Tianlu dynasty. He was the only emperor in the 9th level among these dynasties. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. If the Emperor of Heaven does not come out, the emperors of the 9th level will be the ceiling of combat power in this universe. Of course, there are also various types of emperors who have achieved enlightenment among the emperors of the 9th level. Lu Chen said at this time, "Let the Emperor Tianlu be dealt with by the Empress Tianong, and you only need to deal with the remaining emperors." Hearing this, Emperor Lei Ting pondered for a while. The 6th level of killing can indeed hold back the emperors of the 9th level, but the gap in realm is a bit big. It may be difficult to defeat the emperors of the 9th level. When Emperor Shenwu was in the 6th level, he could already fight with the emperors of the 9th level, and sometimes even have the upper hand. He once almost killed the emperors of the 9th level by crossing the level, but the emperors of the 9th level that Emperor Shenwu almost killed were basically some of them who were about to die, or had some injuries on their bodies, which could not fully reflect the strength of the emperors of the 9th level at their peak. Of course, if we just let Empress Tianong hold back the emperor of the 9th level, there would be no problem at all. The key is how to deal with this emperor of the 9th level in the end. If Emperor Tianlu fights them to the death, even if the Great Xia Dynasty wins in the end, I am afraid that many people will be taken away by this emperor of the 9th level, which will cause considerable casualties. Thinking of this, Emperor Lei Ting asked, "Your Majesty, do you know if Empress Tianong has the confidence to hold back Emperor Tianlu?" Lu Chen said in a puzzled tone, "Hold. What are you talking about?" Hearing Lu Chen's tone, Emperor Lei Ting and the emperors in the conference room were stunned. Chapter 1172 Panic Lu Yanghua. Lu Chen's tone was full of doubt, which meant that he had no intention of letting Empress Tianong hold back Emperor Tianlu. Since she was not holding back Emperor Tianlu, did Emperor Sha Tian want Empress Tianong to kill him directly? A 6th level realm killing a 9th level realm in his prime. Well, it was not completely impossible. After all, Empress Tianong still had a holy weapon in her hand. If she used it well, she might be able to kill Emperor Tianlu. But this was not completely without risk. After all, the other party was an emperor of the 9th level. If he was forced into a desperate situation and had a soul self-destruct, I'm afraid many star fields in the Lingzhou Super Star Field Group would be destroyed, and Empress Tianong might not be able to withstand it. When Emperor Shenwu was young, he didn't dare to chase and kill a seriously injured 9th level realm emperor at will. Emperor Lei Ting reminded him at this time, "Your Majesty, if you push Emperor Tianlu too far, he may be harmful to you." The destructive force generated by the self-detonation of an emperor of the 9th level can directly kill all emperors below the 9th level. What if Emperor Tianlu sees that he can't survive and comes to trouble Lu Chen? Lu Chen said lightly, "If he can still come to me alive, let him come." For Lu Chen, even if Emperor Tianlu really drags him to death, he will only lose a clone, and his main body will not be harmed. And Lu Chen doesn't think that Empress Tianong will let Emperor Tianlu appear in front of her. The current Empress Tianong is very protective of food. Once Emperor Tianlu appears in front of her, Empress Tianong thinks that Emperor Tianlu is ready to surrender, and then Empress Tianong will not be able to kill Emperor Tianlu. Therefore, the Rainbow Queen will definitely try every means to prevent the Tianlu Emperor from approaching him, or kill the Tianlu Emperor before he approaches him. Seeing Lu Chen's indifferent look, the Thunder Emperor and others realized that the Sha Tian Emperor in front of them was just a clone. Even if he really died with the Tianlu Emperor, it seemed that it would not affect his main body. Thinking of this, everyone had nothing to worry about. At this time, Lu Chen said, "Okay, let's go down and prepare. The next war is a real war. It's a good time to test the strength of the War Dragon army." In the previous wars, basically, the troops were pressed in, and then a notice was issued to threaten, and those dynasties surrendered directly. Most dynasties can be occupied without bloodshed, but the next 4 dynasties will unite. After they unite, there will definitely be many dynasties joining their joint army. By then, the number of emperors is likely to exceed 100, and the remaining emperors in the Lingzhou Superstar region may join the alliance of the 4 dynasties. The Great Xia Dynasty has 30 or 40 emperors. If it is just a matter of numbers, the Great Xia Dynasty has no advantage. However, a strategic weapon that the Great Xia Dynasty has not used can come in handy. The Great Xia Dynasty has built thousands of Holy Star Destroyers. A single shot from a Holy Star Destroyer can kill a quasi-emperor, and severely injure an emperor of a lower realm. As long as the War Dragon army and the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty cooperate well, this war can still be won relatively easily. Of course, before the war begins, no one knows what the result will be. Lu Chen is not worried at all. If they are not the opponent of the coalition forces of the 4 dynasties at that time, he will directly activate the Fairy Umbrella and let the Fairy Umbrella's barrier continue to expand to protect them all. With the Fairy Umbrella, no matter how many emperors there are in the coalition forces of these dynasties, even if there are a few more emperors of the 9th realm, they can't do anything to the Great Xia Dynasty. At the same time, Shenyu Dynasty, the palace in the sky. Lu Yinghui sat on the majestic and solemn dragon throne, looking at the projection in the hall. His face was very ugly. Although they had withdrawn, he did not give up completely, and still sent a lot of spies to keep an eye on the situation of the Great Xia Dynasty. As a result, not long after they left, he heard that the Great Xia Dynasty actually took the initiative to send troops, and the number of emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty had increased to 20 or 30 people. Even the great emperors of the Shenyu Dynasty only mobilized a dozen at a time, and the Great Xia Dynasty could actually dispatch more than 20 emperors at a time. When did the Great Xia Dynasty have so many emperors? Although the dozen emperors of the Shenyu Dynasty were basically emperors above the 5th level, their overall strength was stronger than those of the great emperors of the 1st and 2nd levels of the Great Xia Dynasty. However, the Great Xia Dynasty was able to gather so many emperors at the same time, which proved that the Great Xia Dynasty must have something to attract those emperors. Sooner or later, many high-level emperors would go to the Great Xia Dynasty. By that time, the overall strength of the Great Xia Dynasty might surpass that of the Shenyu Dynasty. When Lu Yinghui thought that he had won the throne with the help of the Tianji Tower, he was extremely worried that his throne would be taken away by others one day. Lu Yinghui asked at this time, "Are you sure that there is a heavenly emperor in the Great Xia Dynasty?" In the hall, there was also a quasi-emperor kneeling. This quasi-emperor was the shadow guard who transmitted the information. The quasi-emperor immediately said, "Your Majesty, this news cannot be confirmed. No one has seen the heavenly emperor, and no one knows what the heavenly emperor looks like. It's just that the Great Xia Dynasty always tells the outside world that there is a heavenly emperor in their dynasty." After hearing that the Great Xia Dynasty has a heavenly emperor, many dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar region took the initiative to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty. This also makes the number of great emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty increase and the strength become stronger and stronger. After listening to the report of the Shadow Guard, Lu Yinghui kept tapping his fingers on the armrest of the dragon chair, as if he was thinking about something. After a while, Lu Yinghui was about to ask about the information about the Great Xia Dynasty, but the next moment another shadow guard appeared in the hall. "Your Majesty, there is information about the Great Xia Dynasty." Lu Yinghui frowned, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. Then he raised his hand, and the jade slip in the hand of the shadow guard opened directly, and the information inside was projected into the hall. There was only one picture in the information, that is, the picture of the Rainbow Queen fighting against more than 20 great emperors. Seeing that after the killing field retreated, only the Rainbow Queen and the corpses of the various great emperors in the starry sky were left, and Lu Yinghui fell into silence. He practiced the heaven-stealing art, and his current cultivation level was only the 2nd level. Facing a 6th level killing emperor, he had no chance of winning. And he knew very well that even if he sent a 9th level emperor to deal with this woman, he would probably not be able to gain an advantage. Lu Yinghui couldn't even get angry at this time. He was only panicking. After coming to his senses, Lu Yinghui immediately sent a message to the Emperor of Tianji Tower, telling Tianji Tower everything that the Great Xia Dynasty had done recently. "Request leave. I have a girlfriend. I am dating these days. I need 2 days off." End of this chapter. Chapter 1174. Chapter 1174. I will send a clone to go with you. After hearing what Empress Tianong said, Lu Chen did not respond immediately. He pondered for a moment and said, "The outer domain is very dangerous." Hearing what Lu Chen said, Empress Tianong felt disappointed. As expected, this bastard did not intend to let her go. Obviously, he wanted to control her all the time. Just when Empress Tianong was still trying to fight for it, Lu Chen continued, "How about this, I will send a clone to go with you." Empress Tianong was slightly stunned. Although her expression was still cold, she was shocked in her heart. This guy actually agreed. She thought Lu Chen would say something like the child has not grown up to prevaricate her. Lu Chen continued, "But if you want to go, you have to wait until the war of Lingzhou Superstar region is over. The 4 strongest dynasties of Lingzhou Superstar region have united and gathered other dynasties of Lingzhou Superstar region. Now the number of emperors in the coalition of the 4 dynasties has exceeded 100. Moreover, there is a great emperor of the 9th level. If Empress Tianong leaves now and goes to the outer domain, then no one will be able to deal with the great emperor of the 9th level. Lu Chen rarely takes action himself. Although he can also use the power of killing and has the immortal weapon, the God-breaking sword, in his hand, he does not believe in his own strength. It is better to let Empress Tianong deal with Emperor Tianlu. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Empress Tianong said without hesitation, "Okay." Empress Tianong now wants to rush directly into the coalition forces of the 4 dynasties and deal with all those people, and then she can go to the outer domain to kill without restraint. Seeing the restless evil spirit that could no longer be hidden on Empress Tianong, Lu Chen suddenly thought of something, and then he moved in space and brought Empress Tianong to the palace of Feihong Shenzhou. Seeing Lu Chen taking her back to the palace alone, Empress Tianong suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart. Could it be that Lu Chen was going to regret it? The Rainbow Queen asked coldly, "What do you want to do?" Lu Chen smiled slightly, and directly hugged the Rainbow Queen's waist from behind with a thick face, and then said in her ear, "It's okay, I just ask you a few questions about the outer world." Hearing Lu Chen's words, the Rainbow Queen was relieved. She thought Lu Chen wanted to regret it, as long as Lu Chen let her go to the outer world. The Rainbow Queen asked, "What's the problem?" Lu Chen said, "You should have died in the outer world in your previous life, right?" The Rainbow Queen said coldly, "Yes." When she thought of the scene of her own fall, the killing power of the Rainbow Queen continued to rage in the hall. Her memory was not fully restored. She vaguely remembered that before she fell, she seemed to be besieged by several powerful people from other worlds, and finally she exploded her soul. Of course, this was only part of her memory, and she was not sure whether it was true. Seeing that Empress Tianong was in a bad mood, Lu Chen smiled and said, "It seems that there are still enemies of yours in the outer world." Speaking of this, Lu Chen continued to ask, "Then you should know more about the outer world. I want to know if there are any aliens in the outer world who are at the level of Heavenly Emperor." Hearing this question, Empress Tianong was silent for a moment. To be honest, she couldn't be sure of the answer to this question. After a while, Empress Tianong said, "Maybe." Empress Tianong thought of several alien masters she had met. Their power was very strong. Even she herself had encountered strong masters that she couldn't deal with and chose to avoid fighting. Empress Tianong was not sure whether it was because of the incompleteness of the law that those alien masters had such strong power, or whether their original strength had already exceeded the level of Heavenly Emperor. When the laws of a world are incomplete, there will be 2 situations. One situation is to limit the strength of the cultivator. Without complete laws, the cultivator may not be able to exert the power related to the law, so the strength may drop significantly. There is another situation where there is no restriction of the law. Some people's strength is not suppressed, so the strength can be fully released, and the magic displayed is also more destructive. Take the various worlds of this universe. For example, some emperors went to the Tianqian world. The Tianqian world now has complete laws, which will greatly suppress the power of the emperor. The destructiveness that the emperor can cause in the Tianqian world is about the same as the strength of the Guishu realm in the starry sky. This is the law suppression. The same is true in the outer domain. Although there is no law to suppress the strength in the outer domain, for people in this universe like the Tianong Empress, their strength must be reduced after losing the support of some laws. The most important point is that when the emperor of this universe enters the outer domain, he must always divide a part of his strength to prevent the erosion of chaotic energy, which leads to their inability to fully exert their strength when fighting with the strong men from other worlds. The Tianong Empress has seen many strong men who are stronger than herself. The reason why she can't judge whether they are in the Tiandi realm is that she doesn't know whether the outer domain is untied or bound for those strong men from other worlds. If those alien warriors entering the outer realm were equivalent to being bound by the environment, then it proved that the warriors she met were even more terrifying than she felt, and those alien warriors were definitely at the Heavenly Emperor level. Hearing the uncertain answer from the Rainbow Queen, Lu Chen thought for a moment, and then continued, "How incomplete are the laws of the outer realm?" The Rainbow Queen replied, just like the beginning of the universe. Lu Chen then asked, "Does the outer realm have boundaries?" The Rainbow Queen replied, "Yes." Hearing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but think that the outer realm also has boundaries. Could it be that the outer realm is actually another universe? It's just that the universe has just begun to take shape. Lu Chen then asked, "Then do you know where those powerful people from the outer realm come from?" The Rainbow Queen recalled what happened in the past, and then replied, "Chaos Sea." Chaos Sea. Lu Chen was slightly stunned. "Okay, I haven't heard of it. Forget it, it's useless to think about these now. I will go to the outer realm to see what the outer realm is like." At this time, Lu Chen thought of the cross-border stone that the system rewarded him. Is the cross-border stone used to cross the outer realm or the Chaos Sea? Just when Lu Chen was silent, Empress Tianong asked, "Do you have any more questions?" Lu Chen came back to his senses. "No, that's it." Lu Chen felt that he was getting closer and closer to the truth of his life experience, and he couldn't wait to go to the outside world to take a look. The army assembled by the four dynasties soon arrived at the Lingshuang star field where the Great Xia War Dragon army was stationed. The four dynasties, coalition forces had more than 500 immortal boats, and their immortal boats were all combat-type immortal boats with perfect formations. After the four dynasties arrived at the Lingshuang star field, Emperor Tianlu and others did not show their faces immediately. They concealed their breath and hid in an inconspicuous immortal boat. At this time, what they were most worried about was that Lu Chen had escaped back to the Great Xia Dynasty. After all, the alliance of the four dynasties was so big, it was impossible for Lu Chen to not know anything at all. End of this chapter. Chapter 1175. This can't go on any longer. In a certain inconspicuous immortal boat, the most powerful emperors of the four dynasties gathered in it. Emperor Tianlu, who was sitting right above, said, "I'm afraid Lu Chen has been scared and fled back to the Great Xia Dynasty." Although he came for Lu Chen, he also knew that the commotion they made this time was too big. The four dynasties united and also gathered all the remaining dynasties of the Lingzhou superstar region. The number of emperors on their side has exceeded 100. It has been a long time since such a large-scale war has occurred in the universe. So the possibility of Lu Chen escaping back to the Great Xia Dynasty is very high. If Lu Chen escapes, then their trip will be in vain. Emperor Lingyun said at this time, "It's hard to say. Now Lu Chen has a 6th-level killing emperor beside him, and he may be the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. He may not take us seriously." Hearing what Emperor Lingyun said, everyone felt that it made some sense. Since Lu Chen dared to choose to send troops to the Lingzhou superstar region, it proved that he was very confident in his heart. Moreover, if Lu Chen really wanted to escape, it would be impossible for him to leave the War Dragon army of the Great Xia Dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar region and continue to advance. During the period when the coalition forces of the four dynasties came to the Lingshuang star region, the Great Xia Dynasty destroyed several more dynasties, which proved that the Great Xia Dynasty did not take the coalition forces of the four dynasties seriously at all. Emperor Tianlu pondered for a moment and felt that Emperor Lingyun's analysis was correct. Although he was a great emperor of the 9th level, he would be restrained by the power of killing when facing the 6th level of the Great Emperor of Killing. Moreover, he was the only great emperor of the 9th level in the entire Lingzhou superstar region, so it was normal for Lu Chen not to take him seriously. If this was the case, then they had the opportunity to get rid of Lu Chen. As long as they confirmed that Lu Chen was still in the legion of the War Dragon army, they would immediately block the entire star region and prevent Lu Chen from escaping. The key issue now was how to confirm that Lu Chen's body was in the legion of the War Dragon army on the opposite side. At this time, Emperor Dongyang said, "Why not launch an attack directly? Anyway, the army of the Great Xia Dynasty is here. Even if Lu Chen is not here, we have destroyed the army of the Great Xia Dynasty, which can be regarded as a heavy blow to the Great Xia Dynasty to a certain extent." Hearing this, the emperors thought about it and felt that Emperor Dongyang was right. It is better to launch an attack directly in this situation. Even if Lu Chen is not here, the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty are still here. As long as the war dragon army of the Great Xia Dynasty can be destroyed, even if Lu Chen is still alive, the Great Xia Dynasty will be seriously injured. If Lu Chen wants to expand outward in the future, he will have to do it himself. At that time, it may be easier for them to get rid of Lu Chen. Emperor Tianlu said at this time, "Okay, then do as Dongyang said and attack directly." Emperor Tianlu can't wait to avenge the pursuit of Empress Tianong in the foreign land. After making the decision, the coalition forces of the four dynasties attacked directly towards the Lingshuang star region. The immortal boats of the four dynasties were lined up, and the attack formations were all opened. A series of brilliant rays of light shot out from the formations and headed straight for the starships of the Great Xia Dynasty. Seeing that the coalition forces of the four dynasties had already launched an attack, the Thunder Emperor, who was in charge of the battle command of the War Dragon Army, no longer hesitated and issued an order to attack with all his strength. In an instant, all the Holy Star Destroyers of the Great Xia Dynasty entered the attack state, and then countless red rays of light shot out from the attack formations of the Holy Star Destroyers. For a moment, the attack of the immortal boats in the void and the light of the starship collided with each other, and a violent explosion occurred. Where the explosion occurred, the world was blown up, and the meteorites in the starry sky were also blown into countless dust. Although the attacks of both sides seemed to be offset, the Great Xia Dynasty did not fully exert its strength. The Holy Star Destroyer was used to deal with the Emperor. One shot could kill a quasi-emperor in seconds. How could it be so powerful? Emperor Lei Ting issued another order, requiring all Saint-class star destroyers to fire at full power. At the same time, on the other side, Emperor Tianlu and his men saw that the strange ferry boat of the Great Xia Dynasty was just so, and immediately ordered their warships to rush towards the War Dragon army of the Great Xia Dynasty. Seeing that the coalition forces of the four dynasties were indeed fooled, the soldiers of the Great Xia Dynasty were very excited. At the beginning, they deliberately did not adjust the deadline power of the Star Destroyer to the maximum, just to lure the coalition forces of the four dynasties to rush up. As long as they rushed up, the distance between the two sides was shortened, and the Saint-class Star Destroyer of the Great Xia Dynasty launched a deadline attack again, and the coalition forces of the four dynasties would be difficult to dodge. The deadline issued by the Saint-class Star Destroyer was already very fast. Once the distance was reduced to 1 light year, even the quasi-emperor could not avoid the attack of the deadline. Soon, the ferry boats of the coalition forces of the four dynasties entered the distance that was difficult to dodge when the Saint-class Star Destroyer attacked. The soldiers of the War Dragon army did not hesitate at all and directly adjusted the power of the Saint-class Star Destroyer's deadline to the maximum. The next moment, the originally red light turned into black light, and these lights flew out from the Holy Star Destroyers. After the black light touched the immortal boats of the four dynasties, coalition forces, it destroyed the defensive barriers of those immortal boats in an instant without any effort. Then, those immortal boats were directly blown to pieces by the beams shot by the Star Destroyers. For a moment, countless fireworks exploded in the void, which was very gorgeous. Seeing this scene, the emperors of the four dynasties, coalition forces were stunned. Why did the immortal boats of the Great Xia Dynasty have such a powerful attack formation? At this time, Emperor Tianlu said with a dark face, "We can't go on like this. All their immortal ships have been dispatched. If they are all destroyed by the Great Xia Dynasty, they may not have any immortal ships to use after the victory of this war. Of course, not having immortal ships to use is only a small matter. What really makes Emperor Tianlu uneasy is the black beams shot by those strange immortal ships of the Great Xia Dynasty. Emperor Tianlu is a 9th-level emperor, who is sensitive to power. The power generated by the black beams shot by the Star Destroyer is obviously comparable to that of a great emperor. The most important thing is that the Great Xia Dynasty has so many starships, which to a certain extent has made up for the predicament of insufficient great emperors when the Great Xia Dynasty and the coalition forces of the four great dynasties fought. Emperor Tianlu said at this time, "Everyone must take action to destroy the immortal ships of the Great Xia Dynasty. That thing can threaten the emperor." After hearing what Emperor Tianlu said, the faces of more than 100 great emperors behind him changed slightly. They did not doubt what Emperor Tianlu said at all. After all, the barriers of some of their immortal boats were able to resist the emperor's attack, but they were directly penetrated by those black beams. This proved the terrifying nature of the immortal boats of the Great Xia Dynasty. In addition, Emperor Tianlu, a great emperor of the 9th level, spoke up, which meant that the immortal boats of the Great Xia Dynasty were indeed very terrifying. Afterwards, all the emperors of the coalition forces of the 4 dynasties set out and headed straight for the Holy Star Destroyer of the Great Xia Dynasty. End of this chapter. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.